Rumble. Huge explosions continued to sound, dust billowed throughout the area, and the original lush and prosperous environment had been reduced to ruins. Faced with such an intensive and powerful attack, ordinary people would have died long ago. But Jackets was still resisting. It's just that the situation is not very good. A 10-meter-long Fangtian painted halberd came, and Jackets dodged sideways while grabbing Fangtiana painted halberd and flicked his head. The terrifying sound screamed and flew several golden long swords, and the trend continued to rush toward the chest of the goddess. And Jackets took this opportunity to eject and appeared in the abdomen of the goddess in one fell swoop, her hands leaning back compressing huge power. Double dragon clash. With the earth-shattering explosion, the entire belly of the goddess was penetrated, and the scenery behind it was completely visible. The large group of gold fell to the ground like a meteorite, leaving a huge spoon pit buried in the mud, making many pirates ready to move. Boom. Jackets' attack on the goddess did not hide, and her right palm was pressed down again, completely replacing her with an injury. The Earth's crust keeps floating in a radius of 1,000 meters, and the hills stand upright. As the most central crater appears, Jackets' face is covered with blood lying in it, and he rolls on the spot for the first time, quickly dodges to the left and right. A handful of weapons were inserted into the ground behind, forming a bottomless hole. Damn it. Grabbing the ground with both hands and moving it horizontally, Jackets' tail kept flapping and panting. The penetrating abdomen of the opponent has healed, and the damage he caused is useless at all. This is just a puppet. Jingle bell. The lock of the sky is like a python constantly attacking, and Jackets knows that he can't be tied up, otherwise it will be difficult to get out. Jackets may lose. From the battle up to now, any pirate with a little eye can see the result. The golden woman in front of her is just a puppet, and Jackets can only find the real manipulator if she wants to win. Otherwise, it would be useless even if the Jackets removed the golden woman. The previous calf and abdomen were the best explanation. Who is controlling it? Even by manipulating puppets, you can suppress the 330 million large pirates, who has never been heard of in the sea. The most important thing is to have so much gold. Many pirates, including Marine Vice Admiral, are looking around, manipulating such a large object. It is impossible to be far away. The culprit that everyone was looking for was drinking coffee elegantly. Not good. As the battle continued, Jacket was still accidentally tied up by a skylock. Before he could break free, the skylocks flew one after another, and the barbs inside were constantly squeezed. It's over. Jacket showed panic on his face. Even though he was struggling all over his body with armed color, he still couldn't get rid of it. The gold melts more and more, eventually forming a golden ball the size of a house, and the Jacket is tied inside, and the nostrils, mouth, and ears are all melted into the gold, and the internal organs are destroyed from the inside. Even if he didn't die like this, he would die from suffocation. The result is doomed after being tied up by the lock of heaven. Even if the Jacket devil fruit awakens, it is useless. The air is the most terrifying killer. Captain. Rescue the captain. Jacket's men were all panicked, and quickly shot or rushed out, trying to rescue Jackets. The goddess tilted her head, her golden yellow eyes stared at her, her waist-long golden hair, which was like a waterfall, was divided into half to form dense golden needles, covering the cloud and covering the curtain with the sound of bees, and in one fell swoop toward the sea that rushed over. The thief shot away. What? Damn it. The sound of fear resounded throughout the scene, and everyone was as unresistible as cutting wheat, falling to the ground with holes all over, and the blood stained the broken ground in just a moment. It is impossible to avoid such intensive attacks, unless the armed forces are very strong. Even the 330 million Jackets were defeated, let alone these people. We are members of the Flying Pirates. Killing our admiral will definitely help us get revenge. The several hundreds of millions of pirates who are still struggling to support them have panic in their eyes. Death. Everyone is afraid. Do not spare. The merciless shock of the goddess shocked the other pirates. This is the Fikong pirate group, and the opponent has carried it out of the backstage. This is simply not giving Golden Lion face. Who the hell is it? Some pirates looked around. Don't you dare to show up? Are you afraid that the Flying Pirates will make trouble? At the moment, the goddess raised her hand, and the golden ball wrapped in the Jacket flowed and re-stands behind to form a huge golden halo, and the Jacket fell to the ground covered with blood, and the dead can no longer die. Just like when she first appeared on the stage, the goddess is sacred and inviolable, with 3,000 gold silks and palace skirts fluttering, and the country is overwhelming. However, at the next moment, the goddess landed on the ground, knelt down on one knee and bent down in one direction. This posture has it all. Everyone looked in the direction of the goddess for the first time. After passing through the ruins and streets, the man sitting on the Tenten stage was so extraordinary. Sitting on a chair with Erlang's legs upright, his hair is like a flame burning, and a strand of broken hair flutters in front of his forehead. He is wearing a white open-chested shirt and red and yellow checkered pants. His eyes are full of jokes. This is a handsome, cold and arrogant, unruly young man. Just looking at it from a distance is arrogant and arrogant. There are many people in this direction, but everyone is sure at the first time. Chaos gently put down the coffee cup, stood up and disappeared into the same place with his fingers wearing gold rings of different styles. Everyone felt a trance, only a few crackles were heard, and then a figure appeared on the outstretched palm of the goddess. The installation is over, it's time to debut. Who is this person? Is it the real manipulator? Many pirates who offered hundreds of millions of rewards turned around and looked at the palm of the goddess for the first time. There are still many people who can barely keep up with the movement speed of Chaos, such as Marine Vice Admiral and some pirates who offer a reward of 2 or 3 billion. Sabaody Archipelago is no better than Magic Valley Town. There are many great pirates offering rewards of 100 million, 200 million, and 300 million. After all the pirates in the 4 seas in the first half of the Grand Line need to go to the Fishmen Island through Sabaody Archipelago. Among them, there are more than 300 million rewards. Pirates are not without. The appearance of Chaos made many people frown. They found out that they didn't know this person. Can kill the Ceratops jackets, it is impossible to be unknown in the sea. Everyone is remembering. He is the Golden Emperor with a reward of 123 million, Gaia Kaios. In the end, Marine was the first to think of it. After all, the pirates offering hundreds of millions of rewards are the focus of attention in Marine, and they are also a required course for Marines. The Golden Emperor? I remember, I saw a wanted warrant 7 months ago. It seems that the first reward is 123 million. What? The first reward was 123 million. More and more pirates remembered, followed by shock and surprise. The reward for the first time reached hundreds of millions, which is not something ordinary pirates can do. It's a big deal. It's just a mere 123 million. He even dared to provoke the flying pirates, but the Ceratops jackets who can kill 330 million Baileys are also capable. This guy has so much gold and can control it. Is it a capable person? He will live soon, and the Fikong pirates will definitely trouble him. The appearance of Chaos really shocked many people. After all, I killed the big pirates who offered a reward of 330 million Baileys. The most important thing was the captain of the 20th Fleet of the Flying Pirates. It can be counted. With this courage, it is enough to get rid of 99% of the pirates at sea. In addition, it is possible to kill the Horned Jacket by manipulating the puppet alone. So what is the true combat power of the Golden Emperor? Or could it be said that the Golden Emperor's own combat power is actually not strong? What is strong is only the ability to control. Just like the long-range attack is very strong, but the melee ability is extremely poor. But what is certain is that Chaos will become famous. It will be more famous than the first time a reward of 123 million was offered 7 months ago. Hey! What does the Golden Emperor want to do? The pirate's face changed in shock, and the Marine camp was terrified. Standing in the palm of the goddess, Chaos straightened his hair and opened the shirt without any wind. The huge golden halo behind it began to rise into the sky, turning into various golden swords, guns, swords and halberds again, and they all aimed at the Marine camp. This guy doesn't want to shoot Marine, right? So arrogant. Do it at Sabaody Archipelago? Marineford is not far from here. Some pirates only think that the Golden Emperor is bold. Damn it. Retreat, retreat. At this moment Oak's Vice Admiral's hair exploded, turning his head and roaring at all the Marines. He didn't expect the Golden Emperor to take action against them. The last reward made me very dissatisfied. Chaos flirted with his left hand, exposing his smooth forehead, his eyes squinted contemptuously, and his right hand was lifted and lightly pressed. The empty 18 weapons all rushed towards the Marine camp like bullets. Shoot, shoot. Quick defense. Ah. The entire surface was bombarded wildly, countless gravel and mud splashed, and suddenly there was a scream in Marines' counterattack. Call out. In the dense smoke and dust, a figure appeared in front of Chaos out of thin air. The coat of justice was flying in the violent wind, and a serious face was full of anger at this time. Emperor Golden, you are looking for death. Oaks was so angry, that powerful aura spread to the audience, his right fist popped out and even the air was torn apart, and the boiling armor color covered the entire right arm and was full of explosive power. Kaios clenched his fist full of arrogance, and collided with it, also wrapped in armed color. A shock wave spread, and the goddess retreated 2 steps, and Oaks crashed on the ground, leaving 2 10-meter gullies with his feet deep in the mud, raising his head in a sensational manner. Vice Admiral and Rear Admiral are really different. Chaos left the goddess and slammed on the ground, looking at Ox with the will to fight. This was the first Marine Vice Admiral he encountered. Just to hone these 7 months of cultivation. The goddess lifted off the ground, standing at a height of 100 meters and overlooking the entire Saboti archipelago, and at the same time the entire Saboti archipelago could look up at that huge figure. I have just tried the ability of the golden fruit, which can also be said to be a long-range combat power, and now Chaos wants to try physical skills, which is the melee ability. Let me be satisfied, otherwise the dead will not be so much. Chaos moved his body, the bombardment of 18 weapons lifted into the air, leaving many wailing and marine corpses, and then flew back to the back of the goddess to form a halo. Oxen's face was sullen, white steam started to float on his body, and his body temperature continued to rise. A storm spread out with Oaks as the center, cracks were constantly being produced on the ground underfoot, and the aura was more than twice as strong as before. Life is back. Chaos's eyes lit up, and Oaks' state at the moment was similar to that of Luffy's entering second gear. His figure expanded slightly, and at the same time, a wisp of steam rose from his body, and he could clearly feel his body temperature rising. In fact, Luffy's second gear is not a return of life, but only accelerates the flow of blood, thereby improving all aspects of physical fitness. After activation, the skin will become red and vaporize, just like using a stimulant. It can be said to be a unique move of the Rubber Man. And this trick will consume life. Marine 6 Styles life return is different. The premise of this trick is that Grandmaster has all 6 styles. It can be said that it is an advanced version that integrates the 6 styles. You can freely control the body, hair, and internal organs, as long as the consciousness is poured in. You can freely control any place. This is equivalent to becoming a fighter machine. Even a single hair on the body has a huge lethality, while the speed, defense, attack power, resilience, etc. rise linearly. It does not consume life like Luffy's second gear. The original life return appeared on Rob Lucci for the first time, and it shined brightly. But there was no white mist floating all over his body like Oaks. Perhaps everyone has a different understanding of the return of life, and the resulting state will be different, but the essence is to improve combat power, defense power, resilience, and so on. The only certainty is that all people who have a life to return are almost those with strong physical skills. This is recognized by the sea. Among them, those who return their lives to the sky are the first marine heroes Garp, Black Arm Zephyr, and the current marine marshal Kong Kong, and it can be confirmed that there are such strong people in the world government CPO organization. Now in naval headquarters, most vice admiral that is not demon fruit power will almost return their lives to Grandmaster 6 style and 2-color hockey. After all, vice admiral is not only a job, but also a symbol of combat effectiveness. Chaos has always wanted to awaken and return his life. The 6 forms, armed color, seeing and hearing color, and golden fruit are all on the right track. As long as they practice in which direction to the death, they will always become stronger. Now I have to return my life. Of course there is also Conquerors, and Chaos doesn't know if he has that talent. You know Conquerors is a powerful weapon. My talent has been enhanced because of my traversal, and I am considered a unique genius, but that thing seems to be born with it. What kind of boldness is needed? It is a bit complicated. For Conquerors, Chaos looks more open, recklessly. But the return of life, armed color, seeing and hearing color, and the 6 types are different. It must be learned, and Grandmaster is also required. Boom. The surface under Oak's feet burst, forming a 5-meter spider web pit, which instantly appeared in front of Chaos after splashing a large piece of gravel and mud. The big fist of the sandbag was wrapped in armed color, and the atmosphere exploded vigorously. Before Chaos arrived, he could feel a strong wind. There was a deafening collision, and Chaos clenched his fist, also dyed in armed color, and collided with Oaks in one fell swoop. Suddenly, the land broke and a shock wave rolled up the surface to form a wave of radiation. Chaos fluttered with his hair and shirt, while Oaks was expressionless, and his left hand clenched a fist and blasted out again. Chaos laughed wildly, and blasted out the same punch. Bang bang bang. A big hole was left on the spot, and the two of them appeared 100 meters away and punched again. Several mangroves around were broken, and various mud ruins exploded. Before the pirates could see clearly, the two of them appeared at an altitude of 30 meters, their 2 elbows collided with each other, and the white clouds in the air washed away. The two shot out. Chaos flipped a few backflips in the air, moved his feet deep in the ground, shaking his fists and feeling the passion of fighting. This kind of tough guy fighting to the flesh and full of hormones is the romance that a man should have. The surface burst in a radius of 10 meters, and Chaos disappeared in place after leaving a smoke crater. At the same time, Ox rushed out, looking up at the two people like streamers, and struck each other in the blink of an eye. Chaos's hands were covered with black armed color, and Oak's was covered with steam and armed color. The elbow bombarded them, and the two looked at each other close at hand. Almost at the same moment, Chaos and Oak's made a fist with their left hand and blasted out. The surrounding air seemed to be swept away, a shock wave was set off in the frantic dance, and the surrounding ground was lifted and sunken. The punch of the two of them was like a missile bombardment, and the collapsed crater under their feet continued to expand. Finger pistol. Finger pistol. Armed fingers clicked together, the two shot at a distance, and the next second they soared into the sky and collided in midair. Waves of ripples surrounded the two of them, the thick mangroves could not be resisted at all, and all of them broke and collapsed. It's getting more and more interesting. Chaos laughed wildly with his black knees bumping. There was excitement and playfulness in those pretentious eyes. On the contrary, Oak's was very serious, his face was solemn. This Golden Emperor actually knows 6 forms. Bang bang. Rumble. The two disappeared in midair and appeared on the ground 20 meters. Their elbows collided with one blow and fired close to the ground. Everywhere they went, they exploded with smoke and miasma. When the traces were revealed, Chaos made an uppercut and hit Oak's chin. The person raised his head and spouted blood on the spot. But Chaos also received a left uppercut, and his whole body spit out blood to the left, and a large pit of more than 50 meters of spider web appeared instantly. Time seemed to slow down the battle. Chaos supported the ground with his left hand, tilted his body and shot out with his feet like cannonballs. However, Oak's reacted quickly, pressing his elbow down and at the same time leaning his right foot back, rolling up a large piece of gravel and kicking it into the chest of Chaos. Facing this kind of counterattack, Chaos could only resist with his right hand. The fierce collision between the blasts caused a sensation. Chaos face shot all the way and rolled. After leaving a huge gully, he flipped back and forth with his hands one after another, and finally his feet were sinking into the ground to relieve the strength. But Oak's soared into the sky, and stepped on moonwalk to control his body as the large drops of blood fell. Looking at each other at a high level, Chaos smiled nervously, spit out the blood in his mouth, stepped forward and bent down slightly. The whole ground burst into a sensation, and Chaos rose straight to Oak's. Tempest kick. Oak's quickly kicked both feet, forming a crescent-shaped slash of more than 20 meters, forming a crosscut one after another, and at the same time the whole person disappeared in the air. The surrounding airflow was exploding, and Chaos's body shifted and avoided one after another. Chaos, as if he had expected it, disappeared one step ahead of time and appeared behind Oak's, also sweeping the army with one foot. But it fell through. Only the afterimage of Oak's was swept. The air on his back exploded, and the corners of Chaos's mouth rose proudly. Ha ha. After a series of afterimages wandering in the air, the two people attacked each other's afterimages each time. Seeing that Liu and Sha had reached the ultimate, they prejudged and evaded in advance, and quickly made a counterattack. This kind of silent confrontation is the most exciting and thrilling. Fast speed. Can't keep up at all. As this Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral? The Golden Emperor's melee ability is so strong. At this moment, all those who watched the show, looking up at the constant roar in the air, often could only glimpse the dissipated afterimage, and only those powerful pirates could see some details. The Golden Emperor is very arrogant. He doesn't use his abilities, but fights the Oaks with his physical skills. Is it because he thinks he can defeat the opponent with his physical skills? Many pirates looked up at the goddess. The death of the horned jacket made all the pirates understand that it was not an ornament. I admit that the Golden Emperor is very powerful, but it is impossible to defeat Ox in the physical arts. Marine 6 Styles is famous, and Ox is not a general marine vice admiral. That's not necessarily the case. Didn't you see the Golden Emperor know 6 forms? This is the most terrible thing. The exclamation and speculation of the pirates did not affect the battle. Call out. Rumble. At a height of 30 meters at the moment, Chaos slammed down with his fists in both hands, and Jacket blocked his head with both hands. Along with a huge explosion, a small mushroom cloud rose, and all kinds of gusts rolled up the earth and rubble. Chaos panted heavily in the air, and raised his feet to form a tempest kick in one fell swoop. In one fell swoop, he swept away the dust covering the clouds. You could see Oaks standing in the big pit with blood from the corner of his mouth, and steaming all over his body, staring at the card. Os. The meteor hit the earth, and the ring shockwave appeared again. The dazzling afterimage collision, each hit is equivalent to a missile explosion. Puff. Chaos flew out and broke many mangroves, and finally fell sideways in the town and kept rolling, and a large area of a euro houses exploded and turned into rubble. There were many screams and screams one after another. Oaks followed him into the thick smoke, but in the next second a big hand suddenly grabbed his big foot, and then the center of gravity was out of control and was forcibly lifted, hitting the ground in one fell swoop to form a shockwave and lift the surrounding dust away. Even if Oaks held his head with his hands in an emergency and was covered in armed color, he couldn't help but spout blood. Bang bang. Chaos was full of blood and grinned, clinging to Oaks' ankles and smashing them back and forth on the ground, and the surrounding debris continued to splash like bullets. At this moment, Oaks was full of blood and could not take any defense, forcibly twisted his right foot and swept towards Chaos' head. At the critical moment, Chaos evaded, but this also gave Oaks a chance. 6 Stylus a finger pistol. Oaks sullen his face, his hands are stained with armed color, the raised veins are like small snakes swimming, and his fingers are shining coldly like the tip of a gun. Chaos didn't panic, his face even showed contempt. I saw the entire chest of Chaos bulged and quickly gilded, and the armed color covered it to form a black gold. At the same time, the iron body was also used to form a triple defense of armed color, gilded, and iron body. He is confident that he can resist the opponent's attack. For this reason, his right fist clenched and rushed towards Oaks. Iron body. Facing the counterattack of Chaos, the Oaks attack remained unchanged, while also using iron body and armed color defense. This is going head to head, it depends on who has stronger defense and higher attack power. Boom. There was a heavy metal collision, and the attacks of the two fell on each other at the same time, and Chaos showed a slight pain on his face, but Oaks' entire face was distorted. And quickly turned his head and sprayed blood, forming a streamer and flying out to produce explosive screams. Chaos gritted his teeth and sank his feet deep into the ground, and he held up his black gold chest. The strength of the two defenses is obvious. Oaks is only a dual defense of iron body and armed color, while Chaos has a triple defense of iron body, armed color and golden. Call out. A fan-shaped shockwave formed behind him. Chaos flew out to catch up with Oaks, and fell heavily into Oaks' abdomen, then quickly rotated his body to make a roundabout kick. Before Oaks flew out, he grabbed his hair and kicked his knees heavily on the face. The sound of bone cracks continued to sound, and Chaos emptied and pressed it down. The radius of a few hundred meters was sunken, and the huge shockwave continued to spread. But Chaos' combined punch attack has just begun. All kinds of mud and gravel splashed, and a huge gap continued to spread. Oaks couldn't suppress the impact, his face was painful and he broke many mangroves and buildings, and his image was very miserable. Boom. A huge explosion sounded in horror. Oaks spurted blood from his mouth and nose and forced his body to fall to one side, followed by a huge impact behind him, and saw Chaos sinking his right foot in the mud, and the surface centered on him quickly sank. The flying sand and the rocks are full of neuroticism. Cough cough cough. Oaks rolled on the ground and coughed up blood constantly. Before he climbed up to a dangerous attack, he could only passively cross his hands in front of him. In a moment, a pitch-black whip leg was like a broken bamboo, and Oaks' bloody face twitched, and then he couldn't control it again. Fly out. Marine lost. The Golden Emperor actually defeated Ox with his physical skills. Damn it, too strong. Now as long as you are not blind, you can see that Ox has lost. Under the swift and fierce attack of the Golden Emperor, you can only passively defend. If this continues, there will be no chance of a comeback. Shoo. There was only a blast in the air, and you could see that Oaks was like a ball, being kicked back and forth by the Golden Emperor. The miserable degree cannot bear to look directly. Too weak. Chaos appeared out of thin air, and the excitement before it had now faded. Oaks was unable to hook out his desire to fight, but it was undeniable that the opponent was very strong, but he was still a bit worse than himself. With his right foot leaning back in pitch black, Chaos intends to end the battle with one kick. He only needs a stronger opponent. As for whether this kick will die or not, it depends on good luck. If he doesn't die, he won't make another move. The air was turbulent and was emptied, and Chaos's foot was like a broken bamboo, and the sound of breaking through the air could be felt from far away. Boom. The dull impact sounded abruptly, the huge impact broke and spread, a cloak of justice flew in the air pressure, Chaos's somewhat embarrassed face changed drastically in vain, and his dark eyes shrank sharply. A big hand firmly grasped Chaos's ankle, and the firm face that was close at hand was full of grimness. Not good. Chaos was cold all over his body, all the hairs on his body were exploded, and he didn't want to gold quickly. At the same time, the armed color and iron body formed the thickest defense, holding his hands in front of him to meet the whip leg that swept over. Click. There was a very loud bone cracking sound, and Chaos's complexion was distorted, and then he couldn't control his body at all with his mouth and nose spurting blood. It turned into a streamer and fell obliquely on the ground, pushing horizontally all the way to form a huge gully. As soon as he lay indefinitely, his face suddenly became its white. At this moment, in midair, Garp dropped Oaks on the ground and handed it to Marine, who had caught up, he strode towards Chaos with his big hand. Hiss. Damn it, it's Monkey D. Garp. Run. Captain, retreat quickly. The Golden Emperor is over. The appearance of Garp caused all the pirates to jump in shock, and no one could calm down. If Garp shoots them, no one can escape. The biggest pressure on the scene was Chaos. Standing up from the ruins, Chaos looked at Garp, who was walking in steps. Although the opponent did not emit any aura, as each step approached, Chaos felt a pressure on his shoulders, and his forehead could not be controlled. Live in a cold sweat. He didn't expect to meet so soon. Garp is now in his prime, and his short black hair is not white yet, in the peak state. Garp of this period, it is not an exaggeration to say that he is walking sideways on the sea. Without seeing it face to face, I couldn't feel the pressure at all. Huh. Chaos took a deep breath. Even though he knew there was a huge gap with Garp, he still wanted to die. In his eyes, Garp is a wild beast. Although I am not afraid, I feel a little palpitating. Boom. The feet are heavy as if they were filled with lead. Chaos walked towards Garp, and as the distance got closer, the air around him seemed to thicken. At the same time, the pressure that Chaos felt became heavier, and even breathing seemed to become difficult. The actions of Chaos made Garp very interested. The aura on his body began to actively arouse, like a group of invisible mountains, causing more and more cold sweat on Chaos's face, and the ground under his feet began to sink, and his upper body began to bend down at the same time. Although this is not Conquerors, the pressure caused by the aura of a top powerhouse is almost substantial. Ding ding chang. Chaos transforms into gold from head to toe, and the goddess in the sky separates a strand of gold, forming a golden iron horse, and entangled with her body, and quickly dyes her arms to form a black gold armor. Boom. When the two stopped 3 meters away, Chaos also raised his aura to ultimate, but compared with Garp, it was the difference between a child and an adult. Haha, it seems that Oaks was not unfairly defeated, but I was met by the old man today, so you can spend the rest of your life in Impel Down. Garp put his arms around his shoulders, his coat of justice flying behind his back, grinning. At the same time, the momentum continued to fade, and the pirate in front of him was still a bit courageous, and he would surely be able to make a difference in the sea in the future. Whether it is a dragon or a worm, you just need to try it. Able to stand up to his aura and didn't run away for the first time, instead he stood up in front of him against difficulties. There are not many marines or pirates in the new generation. Not always. Chaos stood proudly, his black and gold vertical hair fluttering in the violent wind, and his eyes were sharper than ever. He must go all out to fight this guy, even if he knows that the result is bound to be defeated. As long as you can't kill yourself, you will definitely make yourself stronger. Fear, pressure, fear, these are all obstacles to the road to the strong. Kick it away and you will see the light. If you can a Euro T kick once, then kick twice and 3 times, and one day you will succeed. There are not many ruthless words, and Kaios takes the lead. Blinked and appeared in front of Garp, his right fist clenched mightily and slammed at Garp, but Garp just stretched out a hand to block it. Except for the cracked ground under his feet, he didn't take a step back at all. Chaos's black and golden eyes were full of fighting spirit, and he turned his right foot and swept across the army. Garp still held his arms upright. Even if Chaos' attack was extremely fast, it was useless. The ground under their feet continued to collapse and expand. Garp's coat was flying at extreme speed, and a shockwave fanned everything to destroy everything. The most important thing is that Garp was forced back. Chasing after victory, Chaos appeared out of thin air in front of Garp and swept once again. Another fan-shaped shockwave appeared. Garp's body began to dissipate, and it turned out to be just an afterimage. Not good. There was a sound of air pressure on the right, and Chaos could only defend passively. Puff. At the first moment of the collision, Chaos spurted blood in his mouth and flew out, broke the mangroves and then hit the ground. He quickly turned over and grabbed the ground with both hands. A pair of Lang Juna Euro's eyes showed the picture of Garp disappearing. Rumble. The surface exploded for more than 1,000 meters, and Chaos disappeared in the air and appeared in the air. Garp, who was looking down in the pit, kicked out 2 Tempest kick in succession, but Garp just hit it and broke it in the air. There was wind in his ear again, and Chaos's heart hung up, and he disappeared without thinking about it. 30 meters away, when Chaos appeared with a whip leg facing him, he squatted down between the sparks and flints to avoid it, and at the same time quickly counterattacked a sweeping leg. But Garp moved faster, leaping off the ground and spinning around, turning his right arm around and swiping. Chaos stopped in front of him with both hands, while pressing one knee against Garp's chest. A storm burst and swept across, and Chaos moved out with 1 foot deep into the ground, his black and gold arms trembling uncontrollably. Garp blocked Chaos' knee with his left hand, and stood on the ground with a backflip in the air. Huh. Chaos' chest was undulating, and his breathing was short. The huge gap. With just 2 short moves, Chaos could feel the gap. The other party didn't even take it seriously. The black-gold right hand leaned towards the sky, and the goddess who had stood still began to change, transforming from her feet to her head into a golden sword that pierced the clouds above the palm of Chaos's hand. Chaos took a step forward and swung his right hand down at Garp. Suddenly the sky neighed, and a large shadow covering the clouds seemed to open up. Boom. Rumble. The smaller half of the Sabayati archipelago began to shake, and a huge gap appeared in the entire area. The scenery revealed when the dust dissipated, so that the pirates who watched from the telescope from far away swallowed their saliva and looked shocked. Chaos' eyes sank. At the end of the giant sword, Garp held the golden giant sword with one hand, standing on his head unable to sink a bit. The king's treasure. Chaos rushed close to the ground and quickly rushed towards Garp, while the golden great sword and the iron horse were shining with sparks, forming a sword, gun, sword and halberd at Garp. The whole area is bombarded wildly, and the dust is covering the sky. Faced with this intensive attack, Garp laughed, and a dark green substance began to flow on the surface of his body, like a thick liquid. This is armament haki, a flowing haki. Known as emission in Wano Kuni, it is a sign of top armed colors. You can see those 18 weapons that were bounced off before they even touched Garp. Looking at the rushing Chaos, Garp grinned and slammed a punch in the air. The next moment the air was evacuated to form a shockwave, causing the ruined ground to turn into a chasm, and the mighty rushing towards Chaos. Chaos, who was forced to stop, was like facing the yellow river that had broken its embankment. Everything where the shockwave went was ashes and annihilated. Boom. Chaos's pupils shrank sharply, and his right hand slammed on the ground. The flying 18 weapons formed huge golden gates, which turned into 5 defenses to stop him. Click. Without any accident, the first 3 golden gates were destroyed by Gyula, and the 4th one exploded after only a stalemate for more than 30 seconds. Damn it. Chaos supported the last golden door with his hands, his feet sunk deep into the ground and kept retreating. When visible to the naked eye, dense cracks were formed on it, and it would be forcibly broken in a short time. Shoo. Chaos did not sit still, and the surrounding swords, guns and halberds still shot at Garp, while constantly strengthening the golden door. This armament haki shockwave is really too powerful. Compared to Chaos's blushing face, Garp couldn't be too relaxed. He didn't even bother with the golden weapons that were shot. Anyway, he was bounced off by the flowing armed color before he even got close. He clenched his right hand and blasted another punch out of the air. The previous gully widened sharply and hit the golden door in front of Chaos in one fell swoop. Puff. Blood spurted from the mouth and nose, and the last golden door shattered, forming various golden meteors blasting around. Chaos only felt a meteorite hit, and the whole chest heard the sound of bone cracking, which turned into golden streamers and exploded all the way. Again and again. The most solid defenses such as golden, armed color, iron body, etc., are like tofu at this moment. At the end of the ruins, it was densely covered with dust, and Chaos knelt on one knee and kept bleeding. His face was terrible and Byakugan was full of unwillingness and anger. The gap was bigger than he thought. His attack was not even close, and the defense was easily broken by the opponent, which made Chaos's restless heart suddenly cool. It is still too early to fight against these strong men. Now that you know the gap between the two sides, there is no need to stay here. All the golden weapons hovered over the head, and finally separated into a skylock, piercing the dust and shooting towards Garp. In the face of these attacks, Garp made a fist, and the incomparably hard lock of the sky was torn apart. Following one after another, the locks of the sky flew out, and all kinds of swords, guns, swords and halberds were escorted. But these still can't stop Garp. But, my body. Garp Vice Admiral run away. Damn it, I can't control myself. All the seamen who had been contaminated with gold powder flew towards Garp uncontrollably, swung their weapons towards Garp without money, or they would cling to Garp tightly. In short, it is delaying time. Chaos didn't hesitate either. All the gold left was turned into an awl and stepped on it, soaring to the sky and quickly fleeing, without even leaving any cruel words. The broken skylocks and swords, guns and halberds are considered gifts to Garp, as well as those uncontrolled seamen. In order to prevent Garp from catching up, those swords, spears, swords and halberds also attacked the Marines, and the Marines voluntarily moved forward. Even if Chaos escaped, the locks of heaven, swords, and seamen were still attacking Garp. Unless it exceeds the range of Chaos's vision, these Chaos can still be manipulated. This kind of remote control is simply tailor-made for retreat. As all the gold and a group of sea soldiers lost their ability to move, Garp watched the armed color on the horizon disappear. It's just that his face is very ugly, because there are a lot of corpses lying on the ground. The other party was already ready to escape. Very despicable. But very useful. Chaos is not stupid. Marineford is so close to Saboti Archipelago, you don't know how to die if you don't have a hand to die. At the same time, a large group of Marines rushed from a distance, directly under Garp. And Kuzan. Garp Vice Admiral. Oaks was now covered in bandages, pale and weak. With the support of several Marines, he saluted Garp. Then everyone returned to Marine Base. The news that Garp appeared in Saboti Archipelago spread across the island. Many pirate groups ran away in a hurry, are low-key people, in short, a lot of peace. 10 minutes later. In Oaks's office, Garp put his feet on the desk and kept throwing donuts in his mouth, looking at the newspaper in front of him. Below, Aokiji, Oaks and many other vice admiral or adjutants also have a news report in their hands. It was the newspaper of a few months ago, and it was Causa Euro's reward. How long will it take for the warship to be coated? Garp dropped the newsletter on his desk casually, chewing donuts and looking at the adjutant. He came to Saboti Archipelago for the purpose of catching Roger, but he didn't expect that the guy would escape first. The Fishmen Island was the place he went. This time he must catch that guy. Chaos is just an episode. Maybe Garp will forget after today. As for the casualties of those Marines, Garp is actually used to it. It can also be said to be numb. This world is so f***ed up, life is like a waste of money. At least 5 hours. So long? Garp was a little unhappy. At the same time, Naval Headquarters Marineford. Asshole Garp. Sitting on the chair, Sengoku yelled, then frowned as he looked at the information in his hand. The crane below is also meditating. What they are holding is Saboti Archipelago's intelligence, the most important of which is the Ceratops jacket, and the Golden Emperor Gaia Chaos. It seems that Golden Lion is eyeing the Roger pirates. Sengoku rubbed his forehead. If it was just a horned jacket, he didn't pay attention to it. The most important thing was the guy involved behind jacket. Now that the flying pirates are expanding vigorously, Marine can't just sit back and watch. In addition, the Roger pirate group is getting stronger and stronger. If Golden Lion really incorporates the Roger pirate group, the flying pirate group will be even more powerful, and I am afraid it will be more difficult to deal with in the future. What do you think of this Golden Emperor? He did not lift his head, looking at the information thoughtfully. Not only can it kill the horned jacket, but also defeat the Oaks. It's not bad. But next, you may have to face the pursuit of the flying pirates. With the domineering character of Golden Lion, you can either take it away or kill it. Sengoku didn't take it too seriously either, because if nothing else, the Golden Emperor would only have a dead end, unless he found a strong shelter. Golden Lion will not kill him. Crane's face was serious. Unsurprisingly, the devil fruit of the Golden Emperor should be that one. Crane's words made Sengoku frown, and his face began to look ugly. Golden fruit. Pretty close. Crane put down the information with a solemn expression. This devil fruit cannot fall into the hands of Golden Lion, otherwise his power will expand faster. Whether it is Sengoku or Crane, it is clear what the golden fruit represents. If the Golden Emperor is conquered by the Golden Lion, it means that the flying pirates will get a lot of wealth, and it will be easier to recruit troops at that time. The most fundamental bond of a huge power is money. In the Devil Fruit illustrated book, golden fruit is not the most powerful, but it is the most important. Especially for a power. Master Gold Golden Fruit means that you can easily find gold buried in all parts of the world, which is equivalent to Master's wealth in the world economy. Any careerist will not let it go. And the golden fruit has not appeared for a long time. As soon as it appears now, it will surely arouse the prying eyes of many careerists, strategists and other kingdom forces. It's late. Sengoku sighed, it was too late to dilute it now. It can be expected that the Golden Emperor will become famous in the next few days. Just because the Ceratops Jackets is the captain of the 20th Fleet of the Flying Pirates, everything involved with the Flying Pirates means that there is huge news. This matter can no longer be suppressed. Apart from other things, it is said that the Golden Emperor has a pile of golden mountains, which is enough to make Chaos a household name in the sea. Dona Euro tu all come out for wealth, fame, and power? With such a big golden mountain, even buying a kingdom is easy. Wealth is touching, not just talking. Since the news can't be suppressed, then push it. He knocked on the desk with one hand and soon had a response plan. You're thinking. With just a look, Sengoku understood Suru's plan. It's a pity to be a pirate. Crane nodded first, then looked at the reward and his gaze became fierce. The next day, a news report spread to the sea. Extra. Extra. The captain of the 20th Fleet of the Flying Pirates, offering a reward of 330 million Bailey's Ceratops jackets, was killed by the Golden Emperor at the Saboti archipelago. The Golden Emperor called out the Golden Lion to take his head. The Golden Emperor's reward rose from 123 million to 567 million. Golden Emperor Gaia Chaos, Paramecia Golden Fruit ability, 2-color hockey, 6 style. Paramecia Golden Fruit, the richest devil fruit, has the ability to transform its physique into gold, manipulate gold, and survey gold across the ground. The Golden Emperor once manipulated gold worth tens of billions of Baileys to fight. As long as he controls the Golden Emperor, he can become the richest man in the world. One stone stirred up 1,000 waves. In just one day, the reputation of the Golden Emperor spread all over the world, Grand Line and New World. Almost all the pirates looked at the newspaper greedily. The picture above was a picture of Chaos standing in the palm of the goddess. The 50-meter-high goddess was golden and full of temptation. In particular, as long as you control the Golden Emperor, you can become the richest person in the world. This is the same as becoming a One Piece king in the future era of big pirates. It has a very strong impact. The era of big pirates has not yet begun. All people who go to sea as pirates are all for wealth, women, power and fame, and now wealth is in front of them. Just control the Golden Emperor. With money, it is equivalent to having power, women and fame, and even the world. There is nothing money can't do in recruiting soldiers. The whole sea is crazy. Now the Golden Emperor is the One Piece of the future. That is a naked treasure. I don't know how many pirate groups began to turn around and head to the Grand Line. A certain sea area in New World. 10,000 meters high in the sky. All kinds of strange islands of hundreds of meters, kilometers, and even tens of thousands of meters are suspended in the sky, and the star-robed chess is like a fairyland. Especially the closer to the center, the larger the island. This is different from Sky Island. Sky Island is suspended in the air because of the White Sea, but these islands are suspended in the air without the White Sea, as if there is some mysterious power and force field. These islands are very strange. There are islands full of water and islands full of rocks. In short, all kinds of islands are suspended in the air, and they look beautiful. There are rainbows across the back of some islands. There are many birds, such as white cranes, and the roar of beasts from the jungle. The picture keeps getting closer, and there is a large island among the various islands located in Yuji. The building complex above is endless. The towering, tall, luxurious and magnificent. The front is a huge square. From time to time you can see many pirates. At the moment, there is a gathering in the most central palace, and at a glance, the past was full of famous big pirates. The lowest reward for those who can sit here is more than 300 million Baileys. The closer to the throne, the higher the reward. At the same time, the strength is stronger. However, the original lively banquet is now a bit quiet, and many big pirates are looking at the newspaper in their hands. And on the forefront of the throne, sat a domineering man looking at everything, and all over his body revealed a domineering man with the lion roaring across the sea and the desire to swallow the world. He is the legendary big pirate Golden Lion Shiki in the future. He will soon threaten and try to attract Roger, destroy Marineford with a single horse, and let Sengoku and Garp work together to defeat the super strong existence. In terms of current fame, Golden Lion Shiki is a well-deserved overlord. Whitebeard, Lonely Red, Roger and others are incomparable. During this period, the Golden Lion was vigorously attempting to rule the entire sea. Regardless of power or strength, they all stand at the top of the pyramid. He did not lose his legs, nor did he put the rudder on his head, which means that his strength is not restricted in any way. He can look down upon the heroes, and he can also coon-face the world. Jihahaha. Golden Fruit ability. Golden Lion looked at the newspaper in his hand, smoking a cigar and laughing constantly. Admiral, give me 10 days, I will bring you the Golden Emperor. At the banquet table below, a man with 3 beards and a blind left eye, finished his bowl of wine in one sip, and looked at the Golden Lion who was laughing wildly. The captain of the 15th Fleet, Lone Wolf Spad, has a reward of 710 million, Zoana Canine Fruta Dachshund form. 10 days. I only need 5 days. There was a voice of contempt. It was a big man with a topless body, a muscular bulge 6 meters high, and a lush chest hair. The captain of the 13th Fleet, Donkey Kong Omit, has a reward of 960 million, Zoana Ancient Species of Vajra form. Flop. As soon as Donkey Kong Omit finished speaking, a sneer came from the seat next to him. This is a coquettish woman wearing a 3-point style with a variety of styles, smearing purple lipstick, and the 2 E-class weapons are constantly trembling with a chuckle. Christus. What are you laughing at? Donkey Kong Omit was full of anger, and compared to Christos, he was a beast and a beauty. If you look closely, you will find that Donkey Kong Omid is a little afraid of this woman. This woman is no one else, she is the captain of the 12th Fleet, the title of Cruel Queen Christos, who is offering a reward of 1.5 billion, Paramisha. Like to kill enemies, looks coquettish and sexy, but Sasori is a snake-hearted. The cruel methods are among the best in the entire flying pirate group. Haha, a golden emperor needs such attention? The horned dragon is embarrassing enough to be killed by a pirate who offered a reward of 123 million. He, the captain of the fleet, has lost our identity. Talaka, now the golden emperor is 567 million. 567 million? A lot? Okay, don't make any noise. The whole banquet hall was noisy and noisy. There was a fierce noise from the third row. An ugly woman with a centipede scar on her face, a fat body and a height of 7 meters, glanced across the room coldly with her eyebrows, and she suddenly made noise. The crowd was depressed. The captain of the third fleet, Queen Kara, and Paramisha Bone Fruit ability, offered a reward of 1.610 billion. Despite the fierce and ugly face, the combat effectiveness ranks third among the 20 fleet captains of the entire flying pirate group. There are 2 more places in front of Kara, but they are now vacant. Not surprisingly, it should be the positions of the 1st Fleet Predator Axos and the 2nd Fleet Captain Horn-Nose King Rubit. After all, the seats for the entire banquet are arranged according to their ranks. Gudong. Gudong. Kahara raised the wine bowl in front of him, drank it and exhaled. Very rude. I will catch the Golden Emperor myself. Kahara looked rude and fierce on the surface, but he was not a foolish fool. She knew what Golden Lion wanted. The Golden Emperor's ability is very important to them, and anyone with a little brain can see it. It's just a Golden Emperor, you don't need to be dispatched. In the 5th position, the charming idol Groot spoke up. He is an exceptionally handsome and well-mannered man with smooth blonde long hair and wearing aristocratic clothes. It is hard to tell that it is a great pirate who is offering a reward of 1.556 million. The Golden Emperor is very handsome, and his concubine deserves it. In the 11th position, a woman with colorful long hair, wearing a pony jacket and short shorts, a perfect face supported by one hand, bright and big eyes flashing. Sakura's peachy mouth is raised and very lazy, like a fairy. Crime. Shangfei Jessica, the captain of the 11th Fleet, is a veritable beauty pirate. A reward of 1.193 million, Paramisha Bubble Fruit ability. Mantra. Concubine body. Although the person is very beautiful, but the character is extremely slutty and cruel. Like all kinds of handsome men, all men will be killed after a night of romance. There are a total of 20 fleet captains in the Flying Pirates, and there are 5 female pirates in total. Captain of the 3rd Fleet, Queen Kahara. Captain of the 8th Fleet, Black Widow Eliza. Captain of the 9th Fleet, Jelly Queen Anne. Captain of the 10th Fleet, Witch Loria. Captain of the 11th Fleet, Shangfei Jessica. Captain of the 12th Fleet, Cruel Queen Christos. It can be seen from this ranking that these 6 female pirates are also ranked high in the entire flying pirate group. Belongs to the upper reaches, but now there are only 4 people in the hall. Jihahaha, you don't have to fight, the Golden Emperor will be handed over to Spad. I will give you 10 days. I want to see the Golden Emperor here. Remember to be alive. The Golden Lion took a sip of his cigar, spit out the smoke, and looked at the lone Wolfspander, the captain of the 15th Fleet. Yes, Admiral. Spad, who had only one eye, stood up and poured the spirits in the bowl with one sip, and then walked towards the outside of the hall, and it seemed to him that it was easy to catch the Golden Emperor. Grand Line, a snowy island. In the town tavern, there is a man in the corner with a dark green hood and unable to see his face. Looking at the news. Golden Emperor, Golden Fruit. There was a hint of excitement in the self-talking. With the help of the dim light, he could inadvertently see that the man had no eyebrows, which made him look a bit vicious. A breeze rolled up the news, and the man disappeared in the next second. At almost the same moment, many people all over the world were holding newspapers. As the protagonist, Chaos is now in the mangrove area at number 66 Sabodi Archipelago. There are marine stations, government entrances and exits in this area from 60 to 69. It is the most peaceful and safe area in Sabodi Archipelago. But Sauz was on the roof of a pub now, swaggering in his chair, drinking coffee and reading the news. The most dangerous place is the safest place. So after escaping last time, Chaos carefully changed the direction and returned to Sabodi Archipelago. Fortunately, Garp didn't take him seriously. Once the warship was coated, he couldn't wait to go to the Fishmen Island to pursue the Roger pirates. Upon closer inspection, Chaos's face was still a little pale, and it was clear that his injuries had not yet recovered. When did I say to take the head of the golden lion item? 57 million, which is very reasonable. Chaos looked at the newspaper in his hand, and the news reported in it made him curl his lips. He felt a strong malice, Marine's malice towards him. Not only did he clean up his information, but he was still killing him. Now there is no need to think about it or know that many people from the outside world are eyeing him. As long as you control the Golden Emperor, you can become the richest person in the world. Also take the head of the Golden Lion. No matter how you look at these news, they are attracting hatred. Marine is going to kill someone with a knife. Chaos squeezed his chin subconsciously, but he didn't really hate this kind of news. From the side, he is now a sweet potato, almost everyone knows in the sea. There must be a name. The next step is to deal with various pursuits, and the difficulty mode directly rises to the hell mode. After all, he still embarked on the road of the world's enemy. Then let the storm come harder. After reading the news, Chaos leaned back on his chair, took a sip from time to time while holding his coffee with his legs upright. He looked at the streets where people came and went in the distance, and all kinds of thoughts collided in his mind. This brief encounter with Garp made Chaos aware of the gap with the top players. Especially armament hockey used by Garp. He almost destroyed his attack and defense, and the two armed colors were compared, and Chaos couldn't bear to look directly at him. I need to improve hockey as soon as possible, or awaken to life and return to the golden fruit. Chaos has a sense of urgency, especially now it is almost universally enemy. The whole world does not know how many people want to enslave him. This time it was a little bit noisy. The limelight is exhausted. The trouble is not small, but it's exciting. It's also very emotional. For the next 2 days, Chaos was very low-key and would dress up in disguise when he went out. But after the injury recovers, it will be different. He felt like he was doing it again. Mangrove Area Number 5 is mainly human trafficking shops, auctions, illegal areas, etc. A bubble car was slowly driving down the street. Chaos was wearing an open-chested white shirt, showing his strong 8-pack abs, and a pair of colorful Madara beach pants. The earrings are pendant with small sword gold earrings, and one of the vertical hairs is dyed gold. He was wearing sunglasses and holding a cigar in his mouth. At first glance, it is indeed somewhat different from the photos in the Bounty News. For example, if the earrings are changed from a small knife to a small sword, the black vertical hair is even simpler. It only needs to be partially golden, and the color is slightly lighter, which is equivalent to burning your head. There are a lot of sunglasses in the streets and alleys. Cigars were learned by Chaos in the past 2 days. In his previous life, he actually smoked, but he was not very addicted to cigarettes. In the past 2 days, he returned to his old business, upgrading from the ordinary cigarettes he smoked in his previous life to cigars. Just like this, there is quite a rich and gangster fan. Temperament leveraged. Very vulgar. But with the handsome face and golden ratio figure of Chaos, as well as that arrogant and defiant temperament, this is not bad. Shoo. Kill. Stop lousy and shoot. Ah. Slowly walking down the street, Chaos has seen waves of robbery or raging drama. Areas 1 to 29 can only be said to be the most chaotic. Pirates, thugs, gangsters, and thieves can be seen everywhere. There are also some slave hunting groups that specialize in single-handedly. Just now Chaos saw 3 fierce men, carrying sacks in the street in broad daylight, and arranging people in the street. Unfortunately, he met a ruthless man and killed the 3 in the blink of an eye. The ugliest situation can be seen everywhere. This is the case during the day, let alone at night. What? Kyos, who had a comfortable face and exhaled smoke rings, suddenly looked in one direction. He perceives a familiar aura in the sight and color. This guy hasn't left Sabodi Archipelago. The bubble car shifted its direction, and Chaos dashed directly into the alley. The breath was a bit far away, in the area of a euro number 8 mangroves. Boy, robbery. Hand over your money. As soon as he entered the alley, 5 mobs armed with knives and guns surrounded Chaos. All of them looked at the wolf and the sheep. Ha ha. Chaos didn't bother to take a look, as if no man's land continued to move forward, and the 5 thugs all fell to the ground, with cruel smiles on their faces. A blood hole appeared on everyone's forehead, white and red liquid was dripping, and the body was still twitching from time to time. Slowly spending more than 10 minutes, Chaos came from the number 5 mangrove area to the number 8 area, during which he encountered 7 waves of various robberies. The dazzling sunlight cast down, and Chaos came to a wide field. Not far away, more than 30 pirates were besieging one person. Damn Logia. The captain will be armed and will shoot for cover. Desert knife. Ah, my hand, save me. The entire venue was chaotic. It was Crocodile who was surrounded by more than 30 pirates. Chaos thought that this guy had already left, but he didn't expect to be still in Sabodi archipelago. Huh. Chaos taps his cigar. Although Crocodile is still very young, Logia is indeed the strongest devil fruit in the early period. Thief. Fortunately, the captain of this pirate regiment would be armed, otherwise it would have been destroyed by the Crocodile regiment. Chaos didn't plan to leave the field either, leaning on the bubble car with his feet on the steering wheel, watching the fight lazily. I knew I should have brought some peanuts and melon seeds, and now I have a soul by eating melon seeds and watching this situation. After almost half an hour, Chaos yawned several times before Crocodile solved all the pirates. It's just that the methods are a little cruel. The pirates have all turned into corpses, and the dirt and sand on the ground have also become deserts. It is estimated that if you want to regrow plants, it will be impossible without 4 or 5 years. This guy Crocodile is good at destroying the environment. After solving all the pirates, Crocodile gasped heavily and did not leave for the first time, but looked at Chaos. Chaos appeared swaggering from the beginning, watching the battle up close. There is no hidden meaning at all, it's you. A piece of sand condensed 3 meters from Chaos, Crocodile also observed for several minutes before recognizing Chaos. It's your savior anyway, should you respect your tone? Chaos propped his face with one hand, looking sideways at Crocodile, very lazy. Crocodile's gaze under the sunglasses was not real. HMPH, even if you don't take action, I can run away. Crocodile snorted, some Tsunere, obviously not appreciative. Can you be a real person? You were almost beaten to death last time. Crocodile, who is still a hairy boy, is really cute. I will remember this favor, and I will definitely return it to you in the future. Crocodile's face was dark, his hands clenched tightly with an urge to give this guy a punch. There is no reason, but it is very upset. You don't need to pay it back, just follow me in the future. You should be thankful that you are still young, and you should be able to become a big boss instead of becoming a disabled person in the future, and give Pig's Knuckles experience. Kaios waved his hand, very disgusted. Now Crocodile is at most 18 or 9 years old. He has not yet battled with Douglas Bullet, the descendant of the devil, nor has he challenged Whitebeard, his hands have not broken, and the path of life has not been finalized. Chaos is confident that Crocodile will be more dazzling than the original under his cultivation. At any rate, it is also Logia, unreasonably weaker than Sakazuki, Pelusalino, and Kuzan. If the original book is long and crippled, you can make a few gestures with various big figures. If this is cultivated by him, you can't fly up to the sky and stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun. But if he wants to become the most arrogant man in the world, how can he not have his own little brother in influence? What are you kidding? Crocodile cast his eyebrows coldly, seeing that the posture was ready to move. This guy wanted to subdue himself as a subordinate, which was an insult to him. He is the person with the strongest Logia ability, Crocodile, who is destined to become famous and become the overlord of the sea. How can he be a younger brother? Crocodile was anxious and angry. Young people are very angry, basically they are arrogant and arrogant. They have not encountered any setbacks, so they are a little immature. Is the pirate world talking about fighting and killing? Mistaken. It's about humanity and sophistication, and fight backstage. If I were you, I would definitely run away right now, or I would lower my head. This world is cruel, what do you think? Kaios took off his sunglasses, squinted his eyes and smiled gently. Arc moon-shaped dunes. Crocodile's face changed sharply, his reaction ability was quick, and he took the lead without thinking about it. In this case, the opponent obviously won't let him go. If that's the case, it's better to start first. The desertification of the right arm forms a huge crescent-shaped sand blade. As long as it touches a flesh and blood body, it will absorb the water and become a dry corpse specimen. The corpses of the pirates in the distance are the best evidence. I have to say that Crocodile is so fierce that even if Chaos rescued him, he launched a fatal blow. Very ruthless. It's no wonder that I can survive in this era of great waves and sand and become 7 warlords of the sea. Call out. Chaos disappeared into the bubble car, and the next second Crocodile's hair exploded. Before he could become elemental, the whole big face was twisted and hideously in vain, and he couldn't help bending down and spouting blood, his eyes filled with pain. The ground exploded and formed a hole, and the sound of tearing the eardrum sounded. Crocodile flew out and broke the mangroves, causing a large explosion and lying in the gravel. Chaos has vertical golden hair and flying earrings, and his hands are neatly inserted in kabuto. With the dark and slender right foot retracted, Chaos disappeared into the spot out of thin air. As for the bubble car behind it, it has been destroyed by Crocodile's arc-shaped sand dunes. Cough cough cough, in the ruins, Crocodile blushed and couldn't help spurting blood again, and the entire collar was wet. I got up very embarrassed, feeling that the intestines in the entire abdomen were mixed together. Obviously, this kick is very uncomfortable. Before he could breathe, a new crisis came again. Crocodile immediately elementalized and formed fine sand leaving the pit. The next moment a violent explosion fanned off the ground, eventually forming the goby for a long time. Chaos revealed his body and watched the fleeing wind and sand kicked it out, wrapped in a black meniscus-shaped tempest kick, and went forward. Rocks and mud continued to splash, and the black tempest kick was like a broken bamboo, leaving a smooth ravine in one fell swoop and blasting into the flying sand, forcing Crocodile to forcibly form a body and roll to the ground. You can see an extra wound on the left arm, dripping with blood. Damn armed color. Crocodile turned pale, gritted his teeth and shot out again. The opponent's ability to kill the horned jacket is simply not something he can deal with now. But just more than 10 meters out, a black whipleg came on the face. I don't know when Chaos appeared first, but it was still the contempt of Kabuto with his hands in his face. Desert King Kong knife. Crocodile roared, his hands turned into huge sand blades, and he slashed at the whipleg that Chaos swept over in one fell swoop. There is no imaginary shocking collision, but some are just destroying the ancients. The King Kong sword stood in a stalemate for only a moment, and was immediately kicked off mercilessly, but Crocodile was elementalized in the moment, and escaped dangerously. But before he could stand firm, Chaos appeared out of thin air on the left and kicked again. Crocodile's face was distorted for the first time, his whole body was bent into shrimps, his ribs were constantly clicking, and the blood in his mouth spurted out. The ground was torn to pieces in an instant, and Crocodile flew out and lay in the ruins, with no backhand strength. Shoo. The afterimage of Chaos continued to explode, erratic left and right and quickly approached. Desert Sword. Crocodile refused to admit defeat, and his hands were stained with blood and slapped on the ground, forming a sandblade that continuously rushed towards Chaos, but this kind of attack was invisible under the color of sight and hearing. It can be seen that all those sandblades just cut off the afterimage of Chaos. The sound of fast-moving breaking through the air kept coming, and Crocodile glared, bloodshot in his eyes. He is the person with the strongest Logia ability, and he was forced to this point for the second time. But now, no matter how angry it is, nothing can change. Chaos flashed up close at hand, still sweeping across the army without any surprises. Crocodile had only time to block his hands in front of him, and then the whole person exploded, forming a storm of sand and quickly fled. Rumble. The explosion continued to spread, and Crocodile revealed his body from elementalization, with a painful face falling to the ground, and the ground sank in a radius of 50 meters, forming a big hole in the blink of an eye. Chaos stood on the edge of the big pit and stretched out his index finger to gently press down. The sky exploded, and 10 golden swords, guns, swords and halberds fell from a height of 1,000 meters. They all aimed at Crocodile and exploded in the air, turning into a large piece of golden powder covering the entire pit. Crocodile can only watch all this, his body can't recover for a while, now there is only pain and numbness. As the golden powder dyed Crocodile gold, Chaos took out a cigar with a pinch of his index finger and thumb, and then his index finger was like a hot red soldering iron, and the cigar ignited as soon as it touched it. A new application of finger pistol, very fancy. Also very trendy. This dazzling way of lighting a cigarette is really not something ordinary people can think of, or can have. Chaos lit his cigar and blew it on his index finger, and then the red index finger returned to normal. Then Chaos fluttered with a wave, and Crocodile, who was stuck in the mud, began to fly to Chaos in the air uncontrollably. The rest of the golden powder reintegrated into one body, turning into a few swords, spears, swords and halberds flying upside down beside Chaos. What did you do to me? Crocodile is panicking now. Chaos didn't answer, he held the cigar in his mouth and gently waved his hands to the side. The next moment Crocodile stood in the air in a large font, like the fish on the chopping board can only be slaughtered. Chaos stretched out a gold-long sword and fell into his hand automatically, then dyed the armor color and stabbed Crocodile's heart without hesitation. A fatal crisis hits his face, and Crocodile's entire soul seems to have fallen into an ice cellar. Will die. He really will die. Boom. Crocodile had a strong desire to survive. It exploded and formed fine sand scattered on the ground. Finally, it escaped 5 meters and could not maintain the elementalization. After forcibly recovering his body, he knelt on the ground and coughed up blood continuously. He was hurt a bit badly. God's manipulation is really useless. Chaos frowned and looked at the scattered gold powder on the ground, which was surprisingly separated from Crocodile's body. Since the development of the control of the gods, as long as any creature is invaded by gold powder, the power of life and death is in the hands of Chaos. In fact, Chaos is prepared for this trick to be useless for Logia abilities. After all, Logia abilities can be elementalized, and they can completely drain the gold powder from the body. And the manipulation of the gods of chaos is through which gold powder enters the human body to achieve manipulation. Since the gold powder can be discharged from the body, it naturally loses its effect. It's not just Logia-capable people, it's probably useless for those who are armed and powerful, and there are strong people who will return their lives. He was just experimenting just now to avoid making mistakes in the future. Jingle bell. Knives, guns, swords and halberds collided to form a lock of the sky. One end was held by chaos, and the other end shot at Crocodile like Lion Majesty, and quickly dyed black and gold. Even if Crocodile was once again elementalized, it was forced out of the body and tied up. Standing again in front of chaos, Crocodile's heartbeat slowed a few beats. Isn't this guy trying to subdue him? Why did you kill him just now? He could really feel that if he wasn't elementalized just now, he would definitely die. 2 ways, choose by yourself. 10 seconds. A smoke ring came out of Chaos' nostrils, leaving Crocodile sideways, looking into the distance thinking about the next plan. At this moment, Crocodile's big back head was messed up on his head, his mouth was full of blood and his face was pale. Seeing Chaos's profile face was so angry that this guy's attention was not on him at all, it was no different from ignoring him. 2 ways. Either live or die. How to choose. Crocodile gritted his teeth. Although his heart was filled with anger and unwillingness, the reality was still so cruel. He can't change any ending. Come, talk about your choice. After almost 5 minutes, Chaos regained his senses and looked at Crocodile. This thought gave Crocodile a few more minutes. Little did he realize that the extra few minutes made Crocodile even more tortured. Aren't you afraid that I'll just give in for a while? Crocodile still wanted to struggle a bit, trying to save the country. I just like those despicable, ambitious, cruel rebels. After all, to suppress these talents will have a sense of accomplishment, so I advise you, don't try to kill me without 100% certainty, otherwise the end will be very tragic. Chaos grinned, his white teeth gleaming with cold light. Although he was smiling, Crocodile had a sense of horror inexplicably. This guy is either a madman or an arrogant man. Or conceited. You will regret this, Crocodile snorted. He seems to have seen hope. After all, arrogant guys generally don't live long. You do not understand. I play with excitement and heartbeat all my life. Lao Sha, your pattern is too small. Chaos looked at Crocodile pitifully. He felt lonely as snow. I don't know when I will meet someone who understands him. After an hour. Number 8 Mangrove Area. A brilliantly decorated pub. It was still the rooftop, and Chaos put his feet on the table, holding red wine in one hand, and flicking cigarette ash in the other, looking towards the distant street, not knowing what he was thinking. Opposite Crocodile sullenly eats, wearing a white bandage. He compromised after all. But he will not give up hope. As long as he has the opportunity, he will wash away the shame. Take a good rest today, and go to Marine Base tomorrow. I need a little sea stone. Standing up from his seat, Chaos finished his glass of red wine and did not intend to go to New World. Instead, I want to get some sea stone from Marine and use it for practice. Although sea stone is the nemesis of capable people, it is also a kind of training aid. In addition to making the devil fruit ability temporarily unable to use the ability, it also makes the capable person lose strength. In addition, the sea stone is extremely hard, comparable to diamonds. The key is that sea stone is also divided into purity. The purer the sea stone, the stronger the suppressor. But demon fruit power can be cultivated with sea stone. Although it cannot restore devil fruit's ability, it can invalidate the suppressive effect of losing strength. Like 4 emperors, sea stone does not actually have much effect. The only effect is to invalidate devil fruit's ability, but it can't make these people lose their strength. We must know that in addition to devil fruit's great power, physical skills or physical fitness are top-notch for this level of power. Devil fruit's abilities cannot be used, but physical skills can. Chaos wanted to smooth out this weakness, so as not to stumble in the future. In addition, many forums in the previous life said that when Luffy played Kaido, he used sea stone to cultivate armament hockey. I don't know if it is true or not. This is also another purpose of Chaos using sea stone to cultivate, wanting to quickly upgrade his armed color. Due to the slowness and delay of the anime update, Chaos just saw where Luffy defeated Katakuri, and the rest of the episodes have been raising. I usually swipe the phone on Baidu and browse the forum posts to understand the trend of the plot. For example, the armed color, emission, Chaos learned about it through forums. It seems to be very cowhide. It can be destroyed from the inside without touching the opponent, and the armed color can flow around the body like a water stream, and the special effects are very high. If nothing else, the armed color that Garp showed last time should be hockey at the level of emission, or even above it. Many pirate fans also divided a level for armed sex. The first stage is just awakening and can only be partially covered. It belongs to the stage of hardening. In the second stage, the armed color can be wrapped around the weapon, which belongs to this stage. The third stage is to change the shape of the weapon to form a shockwave. The solid water chestnut is distinct, and it can wrap the armed color in the air, which belongs to the stage of external release. In the fourth stage, armament hockey is like a 3D flowing liquid, which can penetrate the surface of the object and directly damage the inside of the object. Very general, after all, these levels are guessed by pirate fans, and the official has not given clear data. The first stage and the second stage are easy to understand, but the third stage is a bit bells and whistles. For example, changing the weapon form appeared in the One Piece special, Adventure on the Island of Mist. It was a Marine Vice Admiral named Kong Ming. It's just an ordinary feather fan, which can be turned into various weapons through armed colors, and it is extremely lethal. This means that a piece of grass, branches, or hair can be turned into 18 weapons through armed colors, which is a bit too much. There is no need to explain the shockwave, it is a purely armed shock. There is also Kata Kuri's armed color, which looks like a solid when it is used, and the water chestnuts are distinct. Such as these should be a kind of advanced use of armed color. In addition to these four-stage classification, there are also many pirate fans who retorted below. Especially, emission, some pirate fans gave different opinions, thinking that emission is not the strongest armed color, it is just a use of force and skill. After all, in the chapter of Wano Kuni, armament hockey is called emission. Maybe the third stage is the peak of armed sex. After all, it contains the effects of shockwaves, clear solid water chestnuts, changing the shape of weapons, and so on. Emission is just a title, not a level, just a different application technique. But there is no denying the fact that internal destruction is very boastful. These levels are only roughly subdivided, and to put it bluntly are guesses. In the later stage of One Piece, they are all conquerors, armed colors, and seeing and hearing colors, and the use of various armed colors is also fancy. Luffy, the king who has become the 5 emperors, and also owns conquerors, can be very difficult to deal with a few small soldiers. It takes a few minutes to breathe just for breathing. Chaos didn't think too much, anyway, he just refined his armed appearance to death, no matter how many stages you are in, as long as you are stronger and tougher than the enemy. Do you know? Crocodile stopped eating and looked at Chaos like an idiot, but Chaos interrupted before he finished speaking. How do you call it? Boss. Crocodile's face was dark, and it was difficult to change his name. He took a deep breath and increased his tone and continued, now there are many people who want to catch you, and it's very close to Marineford. Isn't it too arrogant for us to go to Marine Base? Crocodile felt that Chaos was dying. I don't understand the current situation at all. If it hadn't been for this guy, he would have controlled it to dig gold for himself. To obtain the Golden Emperor now is to obtain wealth, power, women, fame, and even the world. It can be imagined that the situation of Chaos is that everyone wants to integrate Chaos into his body. Swagger? Lousy pursues high profile and swagger. Chaos looked at Crocodile contemptuously, and said unceremoniously, follow me, your life will be colorful. I know you are not a fearful man, otherwise you will not become disabled in the future. You call me boss, and I will protect you. Now let go of your guts, otherwise you won't be able to keep up with my footsteps, and you can only get rid of it. Crocodile didn't know what to say. He felt that Chaos's spirit was a little abnormal, and he liked to speak big words. Wonderful life? I am afraid that I will not wander into the sea in the future. Still shelter me? Maybe they won't live for more than a month. Are you courageous? What a joke. Crocodile's face was uncertain. He seemed to see the sad days of rats crossing the street and everyone screaming and beating. His heart is higher than the sky, but he is not stupid. IQ is still online. The guy in front of him is sweet and delicious, and all the forces on the sea want to take a bite, and it is not an exaggeration to say that it is the enemy of the world. I followed him, but it didn't end well. The more Crocodile thinks about it, the cooler it gets. He is not yet 20, and he shouldn't have died so early. Lao Sha, it's time for you to go out. Just when Crocodile's heart was cold, Chaos was smoking a cigar and standing on the edge of the roof, with vertical blonde hair and an open-chested shirt fluttering in the wind. What? Crocodile recovered and didn't understand what Chaos meant. Are you sure the Golden Emperor is on it? I'm not sure, but the similarity is more than 80%. That guy can also control golden weapons, I saw it with my own eyes. At this moment, under the tavern, there were several groups of pirates in many streets and alleys, all staring at the tavern with greed. Many pirates took the newspaper and repeatedly confirmed the photos on it. It was obvious that the battle between Chaos and Crocodile was seen. Even if Chaos was dressed in disguise, his ability to manipulate gold in the end revealed his identity. If you really are the Golden Emperor, you can become the richest person in the world by catching him, and the whole world will be within your reach. Be sure to catch him and remember to live. Yes. Action. A large number of fierce pirates or thugs all approached the tavern cautiously. As long as the thought of the richest, countless gold, etc., the heartbeat speeded up uncontrollably, and the breathing continued to increase. Greed and desire have eroded reason, not to mention that the Golden Emperor is offering a reward of 567 million. Even if he is offering a reward of 1 billion or 2 billion, they dare to do it. Now there is a saying in the sea, as long as you get the Golden Emperor, you will get everything in the whole world. And many large pirate groups in New World are returning. The competition is fierce. They didn't expect that the Golden Emperor hadn't left Saboti Archipelago. This was simply a feast in their mouths, and I would be sorry if I didn't enjoy it. The longer it takes, more people will know that the Golden Emperor is here, and they must fight quickly. Little did it know that all of this was in the eyes of Chaos. His sight was released around the clock. He found out when he was fighting Crocodile, but he didn't stop it. You are still too weak. Chaos sat on the chair again, raised his red wine glass with Erlang's legs tilted, and looked at Crocodile with a confused and inexplicable look, and became even more disgusted. This guy is only one Logia can handle. Aside from Logia, it is really a waste. If he didn't know the future achievements of this guy, he would really be too lazy to subdue. Crocodile dared not speak, because Chaos's expression was so dazzling. What does it mean to wink like trash? Are you saying that he is trash? Those lil ones, you go and solve them. As for these few, I will come. Chaos nodded his forefinger and looked at the roof of the building in the distance. Where are more than a dozen figures flashing or jumping, and everyone exudes a powerful aura, at least 10 times stronger than the little ones downstairs. Crocodile followed Chaos's gaze, his face changed slightly and then recovered his composure. He understood. Did you discover it by seeing and hearing? Crocodile retracted his gaze and looked at Chaos seriously. Want to learn? I will teach you afterwards. Chaos took a sip of his cigar, and the soot bomber had a clumsy temperament. I will solve them all. Crocodile burst into flying sand, and quickly disappeared on the rooftop. Immediately downwind, there were various gunshots or screams. Sure enough, it is the Golden Emperor. On the surrounding rooftops, there are already more than a dozen figures standing. One of them is a bald man smoking a cigarette, holding the newspaper in his hand and constantly checking Chaos. It is found that everything matches except the hair color and earrings. How could he escape his eyes with such a clumsy disguise? 16. No pressure. Chaos leaned back on the chair, touched the small sword earrings with his index finger, and then dipped his cigar on his side, gently waving his left hand down, and suddenly there was a sound of breaking air from a kilometer high in the sky. The goddess who had closed her eyes suddenly fell. The sun was gradually blocked, and shadows enveloped this area. Half of Saboti Archipelago, regardless of their identity, all raised their heads to look up at the sky, first turned pale, then shocked, and finally crazy. The Golden Emperor. It's the Golden Emperor. He didn't leave Saboti Archipelago. To seize the Golden Emperor is to seize the whole world. This direction is the number 8 mangrove area. Quickly catch up, don't let other people catch the Golden Emperor. Action, action, inform the captain. Haha, Lousy wants to become the richest man in the world. As long as you catch the Golden Emperor, Lousy can recruit troops and become the king of the world. Ascending and looking at it, you will find that countless pirates, slave groups, thugs and gangsters, and even some civilians are running towards the number 8 mangrove area in all directions. Everyone now has only one idea, and that is to catch the Golden Emperor. All crazy. It's definitely the Golden Emperor. Do it. The appearance of the goddess completely confirmed the 16 people. They are all pirates offering a reward of more than 100 million Baileys, or pirate hunters who can capture a reward of 100 million. Some were Shinsa hands, some were swordsmen, and some were demon fruit power. At this time, they all turned into hungry wolves and rushed towards the white and tender lamb of Chaos. Faced with such a situation, Chaos had a playful smile. Still sitting on a chair with Erlanga Euro's legs tilted, chin resting on his chin, drinking red wine and smoking a cigar, the goddess is suspended in the sky at an altitude of 50 meters. Mi's 16 huge swords, guns and halberds flew at the 16 Deathseekers with the sound of breaking through the air. Careful. Ding ding. The 16 contestants looked shocked and were forced to stop to resist the weapon that was flying in. The huge power made everyone's expressions change. Snapped. As Chaos snapped his fingers, the 16 weapons sounded like a golden horse and iron horse, and then they split into small knives, guns, swords and halberds. Everyone was fortunate to share 30 of them, aiming at the center. Several people couldn't help swallowing their saliva and felt a huge threat. Kill. With a roar, the swords, guns, swords and halberds collided with the 16 players. Tinker. Rumble. Deafening metal crashes and explosions fell. Buildings within a radius of 100 meters were riddled with holes, and all kinds of panic screams resounded across the sky. That golden weapon was like a tracking missile. No matter where the 16 people escaped, they would follow closely. Pursue afterwards. Puff. Blood spattered all over the ground, and one of them was pierced by Fang Tian's painted halberd. He was nailed to the tattered ground and spurted blood continuously. He grabbed Fang Tian's painted halberd with both hands and twisted his face. Only then did the eyes show despair and fear. Followed by one after another, the weapon flew, and it was finally nailed into a hornet's nest. Downstairs, Crocodile was also slaughtering cannon fodder. The desertification of the entire building began to collapse, and a golden tributary fell from the sky, which quickly became a precious and exquisite golden throne, which replaced the wooden chairs before floating in the air. Chaos changed his posture, and found a dense crowd of people in his perception of seeing, hearing and color, approaching quickly. It seemed that most of the pirate mobs in Saboti Archipelago were alarmed. Emperor Golden, surrender me. The excitement voice was close at hand. It was one of the 16 pirates. At this moment, he grabbed Chaos with his left hand, and his face was full of hideousness with a long knife in his right hand. Chaos' eyes squinted, full of contempt. Jingle bell. A lock of the sky is like a lion majesty ejection, entangled the left hand of the pirate in one fell swoop. Before the latter struggles, the second, third, and fourth locks of the sky entangle the right hand and feet, and forcefully pull it into the large font left Chaos and hovered in midair. Damn it. The pirate kept struggling, but he couldn't break free when his limbs were tied up. Puff. A golden spear pierced through the back of his head, blood and brain splatter splashed, dripping continuously along the twitching body. One after another, all knives, spears, swords and halberds were inserted on the back of the pirate, and the tip of his chest was bright red. This smell is really sweet. Chaos closed his eyes and took a sharp breath. He could smell the hotness and freshness in his blood. The expression is very nervous. Then it was just a thought, the lock of the sky in the air was unlocked, and a handful of swords, guns, swords and halberds were pulled out of the pirate's body, suspended in the air, blood red. The body crashed to the ground and was covered by dust in the blink of an eye. Too slow. With golden vertical hair flying, Chaos opened his eyes and wiped his right hand in front of him. The goddess in the sky stretched out a slender hand and pointed. The huge golden halo behind it all turned and split, and the entire sky was covered by shadows for a while. Under the shining of the sun the cold color shone with cold light. Not good. Quickly retreat. The remaining few pirates who were still resisting looked up at the densely packed knives, guns and swords in the sky. Their expressions changed in shock and cold. Shoo. The overwhelming golden meteor shower neighed and fell indiscriminately across the sky. Damn it. A terrified roar sounded, followed by various explosions and screams. That handful of arrows rain as a missile, hitting the ground to smash a hole, and flying away the rocky mountain for a while, and the entire area is reduced to rubble in the blink of an eye. Spare. Spare. When everything dissipated, all kinds of ruins spread, and more than a dozen pirates were nailed to the ground. These people didn't even touch Chaos. A piece of sand condensed into one body. Crocodile looked at the ruins filled with golden weapons, and the blossoming Madara bloodline, and looked up at the man sitting on the golden throne, feeling inexplicably palpitating. Kang Kang. Countless knives, spears, swords and halberds began to lift off, some spotless, some covered in bloodline, and finally merged into one to form a light wheel, standing back and spinning behind the goddess. The goddess, who was supposed to be sacred and inviolable, began to look a bit evil and awe-inspiring because of the light wheel covered with Madara bloodline. Look, it really is the Golden Emperor. Haha, I'm going to order these gold. Grab the Golden Emperor. Wealth touches people's hearts, people die for wealth and birds die for food, greed does not end. Even if this place has been reduced to ruins, there are still many corpses lying there, but these people still haven't sobered up. There are more and more pirate thugs coming from other areas. Kill. There is nothing to talk about. Everyone now has only one purpose, which is to snatch gold and snatch the Golden Emperor. Facing the pirate mob who looked like an army of thousands, Crocodile panicked a little. I couldn't see the head in the past. All the evil spirits are full of greed, as if a wild beast that has been hungry for days and nights meets a lamb. The degree of madness is no longer afraid of life and death, and most of them have lost their reason. If it were ordinary people, they would pee their pants in fear. Snapped. The crisp and loud fingers sounded, and Chaos' eyes were calm. These people are damned. It should be said that the pirates of the whole world are damned. Including the king of Pig's Feet, Luffy, is also burdened with great sins. No one in this world is clean, only those ignorant children, or civilians in remote areas, killing these people KOS without any psychological pressure. Just take it to clean up the world from pests. Chaos is not innocent, after all, he is also a pest himself, or a big pest, and will become a giant pest in the future. Kang Kang. The sound of the golden horse and iron horse resounded under the sky, and the huge body of the goddess exploded, forming a torrent of weapons, like a dark cloud completely shielding the sun. All fell in midair and covered the entire area on the 8th. It's dark. Many of the pirates who had been rushing stopped, looked up at the sky and looked at the almost impervious golden cold light. They were suddenly awakened and all over their bodies with cold. Look. What is that? Arrow rain. The golden arrow rain covers the entire area on the 8th. It's dark in the 8th area. So many golden weapons are the Golden Emperor. Are you going to destroy the entire number 8 area? Quickly leave. The roaring hysterical in all directions, but still unable to resist the pirates who charged. Shoo. The endless meteor shower fell, and it looked like a heavy golden rain from a distance, screaming and blood flowing wherever it went. Ah, help. My hand. Run. The world of purgatory is constantly being staged. All kinds of stumps, broken arms and minced internal organs, began to stain the ground in piles, and eventually the corpses gathered like a mountain into a blood-colored river. The thick bloody smell continued to spread, and soon the surrounding mangrove areas covered. The golden raindrops are still falling and flying. This is simply a massacre. In just a few minutes, the whole scene was full of corpses, and the gold densely inserted on the corpses was so scarlet at the moment. Thousands of people, including all kinds of pirates, thieves and so on. All are buried here now. Some of the pirates who had not rushed up from the periphery, all paled, looking at the dead mountain and blood in front of them in horror. Shoo. A hand of blood-red weapons flew into the air and entangled to become the goddess again, but the current goddess was covered with blood, and her wet golden long hair and palace skirt all turned blood-red with blood dripping. No longer the sacred and noble before. Instead, it is the snake Sasori demon from hell. The golden throne passed by, and finally stopped over the mountain of corpses. Chaos propped his chin with one hand and raised his legs, looking down at the audience without staining the slightest dirt. Looks extremely cold-blooded and cruel. None of the pirates on the periphery dared to look at him. Even some pirates offering a reward of 1 or 2 billion. The method that Chaos just showed was too terrifying. It's all scum, it's boring. These pirates were already shocked, and they didn't plan to take action anymore. A golden giant sword flew in front of Crocodile. Crocodile was stunned, then stepped on it, and then quickly disappeared into the 8th area behind the Chaos golden seat. At the same time, there is also the goddess who is covered in blood. With so much noise, it's time to leave Saboti Archipelago. But before leaving, I have to take a look at the marine base stationed in Saboti Archipelago. The needle falling in the audience was audible, and hundreds of eyes just watched Chaos and Crocodile leave. At this moment, Marine is stationed at the base in Mangrove Area number 60. The highest officer is still Oaks, and there is still a bandage wrapped around his body, but his injuries have mostly recovered. After all, I will return my life. After a few good meals, I will be alive and kicking after 2 sleeps. The Golden Emperor is still at Saboti Archipelago. In the area of a euro the 8th mangrove. Ox Vice Admiral, are we going to catch it? At the moment in the office, the 5 Rear Admiral and some colonels are all looking at Oaks behind the desk. Garp Vice Admiral has gone to the Fishmen Island. I am not the opponent of Golden Emperor. Oaks frowned, and did not hide it. If you are not an opponent, you are not an opponent. There is nothing to be ashamed of. Reporting to Marineford, the ability of the Golden Emperor is very important to any force. Oaks has a solemn expression. Now it is not only the pirate, but Marine also wants to control the Golden Emperor. But Saboti Archipelago is now a Vice Admiral. It is difficult to win the Golden Emperor, and it needs the support of the headquarters. Yes. A liaison officer in the office dialed the phone worm directly. At this moment, a seaman rushed in, looking a little worried. Ox Vice Admiral, the Golden Emperor killed a large number of pirate thugs in the mangrove area on the 8th, and is now coming to our side. What did you say? Everyone in the office changed their expressions. Marineford, headquarters building. Crane Vice Admiral, just now the Saboti Archipelago station base called, saying that the Golden Emperor is still in Saboti Archipelago, and he might take action against them and ask for support. The office door was pushed open, and a communications soldier looked at the Crane who was working dignifiedly. What? Crane, who was approving the document, put down his quill. His serious face was full of fierceness. Let the 3 Rear Admiral, Anka, Domir and Canis, be ready and set off for Saboti Archipelago in 5 minutes. Crane Vice Admiral, are you going to catch the Golden Emperor yourself? The correspondent was taken aback. After all, Vice Admiral hadn't been out of Marineford for half a year. Go and inform. Crane nodded, then took out the phone worm in the drawer and started dialing. Now Garp and Zephyr are outside, and even Sengoku has gone to New World. In order to be foolproof, she needs to personally arrest the Golden Emperor. Never thought of sending other Vice Admiral to arrest. Because the value of the Golden Emperor is too great. Brew, hey. The phone worm connected, and a deep and majestic voice came from inside. Marshal Kong, the Golden Emperor is still in the Saboti Archipelago, and may attack the station base. I want to go there in person. Understood. Sora did not say much, and agreed directly. Obviously, he also knows the value of Golden Emperor. In fact, the 2 offices are separated by 2 floors, and Crane doesn't bother to report in person, so he can directly solve it by phone. Regardless of the white-haired Crane in the future, the appearance of an old and weak woman, in fact, the combat effectiveness is very strong. Heading is now only about 50 years old, and he is still full of heroic fighting power. 5 minutes later, an army headed by women, a huge warship with a big crane written on the flag of the Marine warship, left the port of Marineford No. 1 and soon disappeared on the sea level. He wore a pale pink shirt, a red tie with white dots, and his hands with gloves. He was standing behind the bow of the boat in a coat of justice and dancing. His weather-beaten face could vaguely see the beauty of his youth. Although the aura has converged, the overbearing, decisive and heroic temperament is still full of oppression. Master Vice Admiral, what is our mission this time? 3 female Rear Admiral walked on the deck, all dressed in justice coats. One wears sunglasses, the green exploded head is extremely dazzling, a bit fat, and he carries a giant knife on his back. The other wears a marine cap, short yellow shoulder-length hair, and a long knife on his back. The last one has short black hair at home, wears a blue shirt, and wears 3 pistols and a long sword around his waist. These 3 were called Anka, Domir, and Canis, and they were Crane's capable officers and adjutants. Although the 3 are just Rear Admiral, they have Vice Admiral level combat power. Almost all of the warships on the well-known Cranes are female soldiers, and every time they perform a mission, they are a beautiful landscape. However, this scenic route is not easy to provoke, and it is true that the warships led by Sengoku, Zephyr, and Garp. So far, this group of pirates, composed of female soldiers, has either sunk into the bottom of the sea or entered impelled down. It is very famous in the sea. Catch the Golden Emperor. Crane made a brief description of the character this time. The Golden Emperor who escaped from Garp Vice Admiral. I haven't even left Saboti Archipelago. The warship here rides the wind and waves, and at the marine station of Saboti Archipelago, it is now ready to take action at any time. Who are you calling? Sitting on the golden throne, Chaos stared at Oaks on the ground with his chin, staring at the goddess in the sky behind him, suppressing the whole atmosphere to the extreme. Crocodile stood on the golden greatsword, watching a large number of marines on the ground holding muskets, and the generals such as the majors and Rear Admiral were full of anger. It seemed that only a single order from Ox was needed, and they would rush up and hack the Golden Emperor to death. Ox. Oaks was calm, and didn't feel annoyed by Chaos' arrogance. Since everyone is so familiar, then I don't bother to talk nonsense. Give you 2 choices, hand over the sea stone you have in stock, and you will come with me. Or I will kill you all, and then go get the sea stone by myself. Chaos reached out and nodded the several colonels and Rear Admiral beside Oaks, standing above him like the emperor of the master's life and death power. A delusion. A mere pirate. Many marine generals sneered and would not compromise at all. Although I know it is not your opponent, Marine will never compromise with the pirates. Oaks took off his coat behind his back, steam began to rise from all over his body, intending to fight to the end. Marineford has been notified that as long as the Golden Emperor can be supported for a few hours, the Golden Emperor will not be able to escape. Since you are going to sacrifice their lives, then I will fulfill you. Chaos smiled sternly, using his ass to think that this guy had notified Marineford. Maybe it was Zephyr or Sengoku who made the shot himself. He could see through Oak's battle plan at a glance. Delay the time. So he must fight quickly. As Chaos snapped his fingers, the blood-stained goddess exploded and turned into dense knives, guns, swords and halberds. Whether on the head or around, they all aimed at the entire base. It's almost covered by the sky and the earth, and airtight. The Marines who wanted to fight to the end all changed their faces. If this falls, few can survive. The entire base will even be reduced to ruins. And many more. Oak's face was ugly, and the steam on his body began to fade. The hand that Chaos was about to wave stopped, with a smile on his face. Seastone can give it to you, and I can catch it with my hands, but you are not allowed to shoot them. Oaks is obviously not a hawk, nor is he someone like Sakazuki who can't tolerate a trace of sand. As the highest officer of the base, he is responsible for these hundreds of seamen no matter what. What's more, this is a piece of fresh life that upholds justice. Let him watch these seamen go to death, he can't do it. Ox Vice Admiral, it's a big deal with him. Master Vice Admiral, we are not afraid. Many seamen blushed and violently, all of them looked at Chaos with fearlessness, without any fear in their eyes. But most of them are still a little afraid of panic. After all, anyone who is surrounded by all kinds of shining weapons, the sky and the ground are airtight in all directions, if there is an intensive phobia, they will fall on the ground and faint. The gap is too big. I'm just making fearless sacrifices. I will bear the consequences. Oaks is very calm. In his opinion, the adverse effects of compromise are not as important as these hundreds of lives. Master Vice Admiral. Despicable Golden Emperor. Many Marines yelled. Talking to smart people is easy. Give you 3 minutes. Since being able to achieve the goal without blood, Chaos didn't mind saving some time. I'm still too kind. Go and get the Seastone in stock. Master Vice Admiral. Go. Yes. Several Marines gave Chaos a vicious look, and then ran into the base. The whole scene calmed down, and the swords, guns and halberds falling from the sky, like Shinigami's sickle on the neck, made many Marines feel insecure. At the same time, there are many pirates watching outside. I believe it will not be long before the Golden Emperor will be famous again. The Marines moved very fast. They took out 2 boxes in just 2 minutes, and they were almost full of handcuffs and shackles made by Seastone. What you want? Oaks asked the Marines to open the box, and then looked at Chaos with a gloomy expression. Don't worry, my Golden Emperor came out and talked about credit. Chaos flirted with a straight hair, then waved to Crocodile. Old Shaw, you go try that thing. Crocodile, who had nothing to do with him, turned black when he heard this. Leaving aside the name Lao Shaw, he was extremely disgusted. It would be too much to just let him try Seastone. On the road, who doesn't know that Seastone restrains demon fruit power? What is this guy at ease? Humph. After facing the calm black eyes, Crocodile snorted slightly, reluctantly turning into fine sand and appeared on the ground, directly reaching out to grab the Seastone handcuffs in the box. Without any accident, as soon as he touched him, he fell to the ground feebly. At the same time, he couldn't sense the ability of sand fruit, and he couldn't lift the slightest strength. Snapped. Chaos snapped his fingers, and the sky's several golden weapons collided and turned into a lock of the sky, falling down and curling toward the 2 snapping fingers and Ox like a life. The latter didn't struggle either, letting the lock of heaven bind himself. But this is not over yet, because the golden weapon exploded in the air, forming a large piece of golden powder that dyed the entire area golden. Whether it was Oaks or other Marines, they were all drenched. What have you done? Oaks frowned. Although he didn't know what the gold powder had, his instinct told him that the Golden Emperor was not at ease. Especially when the other few locks of the sky are going to involve the 5 Rear Admiral and the 5 Major Colonels. You turned back. Oaks cast his eyebrows coldly, as if he would burst into flames in the next moment. I didn't turn back. What I want is Seastone, you, and 10 of them. I didn't move the others. Don't doubt my credit. With a wave of chaos, the dense clouds of swords, guns and halberds in the sky began to flow back, becoming the goddess and standing in the sky behind him. As for the 5 Rear Admiral and the Colonel, they wanted to resist being bound by the lock of heaven, but found that they could not move. How can you let them go? Oaks calmed down, and the Golden Emperor had indeed pointed to 10 of his subordinates before. You will know. The golden throne began to hang in the air, the lock of the sky made a jingle bell, Oaks and the 10 generals also all hanged in the air. Crocodile stepped on the golden greatsword, and then soared into the sky and disappeared into the sky. The Marine of the entire base looked up, and the pirates outside. The Golden Emperor actually captured Marine Vice Admiral Oaks, as well as 5 Rear Admiral and the Colonel. Big news. The 8th area is now like a mountain of corpses, all of them were killed by the Golden Emperor. It is initially estimated that there are thousands of people. For a while, the entire Saboti archipelago was discussing the Golden Emperor. The corpses of thousands of people are placed in Area 8, and the blood can gather into a river. Many people have come to the fact that the Golden Emperor is a ruthless person, and his strength is terrifying. Not everyone can chew. At dusk, the sunset is infinitely good. The horizon line was hovering in layers of red clouds, and the entire sky seemed to have been burned by fire. I don't know when a black spot appeared, and after gradually magnifying it, it turned out to be a warship. The flag with the word, Crane, hung high, indicating who led the warship. After a few hours passed, Crane finally arrived at Saboti Archipelago. But everything is too late. Marine is stationed, the mood of the Marines is not very high. They had notified Marineford a few hours ago, and Crane knew about it. Sit down. At this time, in Oak's office, Crane was sitting on the main seat, and Anka, Domir, and Canis were standing by, looking at the standing colonels and majors together. The only 5 rear admiral have been kidnapped by Chaos. Crane Vice Admiral, we must rescue Oak's Vice Admiral from the Golden Emperor. A large colonel clenched his fists in humiliation. Don't worry, let's talk about the specific process. Crane is very calm, knocking on the desk has his own majesty. Far more massive and powerful than the majesty of Oak's. Although they are at the same level as Vice Admiral, there is still a big gap. Yes. Immediately afterwards, the colonel began to tell the story again, very carefully. After listening to the Crane, several people went down to rest. Master Vice Admiral, what exactly does the Golden Emperor want to do? Domir couldn't understand. Boom boom boom. Crane leaned back on the office chair, knocked on the table with one hand, and his frown began to stretch out. Remember Tobit Rear Admiral 7 months ago? Remember. The 3 women nodded. After all, Tobit was demoted to become a colonel and had been detained for 3 months. It was also because of this incident that Marine began to notice the Golden Emperor and offered a reward. If the guess is right, the Golden Emperor should know from Oak's mouth that the life is returned. Crane's face was a little hard to look. Combining with Tobita Euro's account, the Golden Emperor used the life of other Marines to force him to tell the cultivation methods of the 6 forms. It can be determined that the Golden Emperor has now learned the 6 forms and possesses the 2-color hockey. Combined with this point, the answer is ready to come out. This guy is different from the other pirates. Crane's eyes were full of sorrow. In her opinion, the Golden Emperor was far more clever and cunning than the other pirates. It may be a confidant in the future. I thought that it could be solved with cheating, but now it seems that the chances are a bit slim. So he also kidnapped the other 5 rear admiral and the colonel, wanting to force Tobit to force Oak's vice admiral like that. Anka suddenly realized, and then couldn't help cursing, what a despicable and shameless man. Then Oak's vice admiral, aren't they dangerous? Not really. He shook his head slightly, and then continued unpredictably, judging from Tobit's reaction, the Golden Emperor pays attention to credit, saying that as long as he gets the 6 forms, he will let them go, and finally he really kept his promise. To be honest, Crane was a little surprised. After all, the pirates' rebellion and all kinds of despicable things can be done, and the Golden Emperor can be regarded as a clear stream in the pirate. I just don't know if this is a pretend or a whim. Crane didn't believe it very much. How can a pirate speak credit? Domir sneered. When he mentioned the pirate, his first impression was that he would do nothing, kill and rob, and be full of evil. Regardless of whether the Golden Emperor talks about credit, we must catch him. Continue chasing after 10 minutes. Crane didn't talk too much, she would not easily return to Marineford without catching the Golden Emperor. She knows the value of golden fruit very well. Time goes back to an hour ago. On the edge of the Grand Line Calm Belt, a pristine island welcomes several outsiders. The huge body of the goddess fell on the ground, like a human-shaped golden mountain. 10 locks of the sky hung in the golden slender fingers of his right hand, and the 5 rear admiral and the Great Correction were blowing in the wind. Humiliation and anger are all over his face. Chaos stood up from the golden throne, took out a cigar, rubbed it, and ignited it. He flung up the black vertical hair that had returned to its normal color. Looking at the ox who was tied up in front of him, he snapped his fingers and said cleanly, "Within 3 months, regardless of whether I have learned how to return my life, I will let you go." So you want to return your life? Oakes's face was gloomy, and he immediately looked at the 5 rear admiral and the colonel hanging on the hands of the goddess, and everything understood. This is a naked threat. Captain, there is news related to the Golden Emperor. On an island in New World, a pirate ship with a skull flag is being coated. A group of fierce and evil pirates on the shore looked different from ordinary pirates, and the evil spirit and bloody smell on their bodies was extremely heavy. One of the pirates handed the news bird Bailey, and then exchanged for a stack of newspapers. There are many news mentioned above, and one of the sections contains the news of the Golden Emperor. Where? Lone Wolf Spad wore a one-eye mask, pinching his 6 beards and staring sharply. The admiral only gave him 10 days, and he was a little rushed. The Golden Emperor killed thousands of pirates in Saboti Archipelago, and also captured Marine Vice Admiral Oakes and several generals. Spad took over the news, and the pattern on the section of the Golden Emperor was a scene of chaos sitting on the sea of a euro blood in the Dead Mountain. The photo had a powerful sense of shock. The other is a photo of Oakes and a group of people taken away. No matter how you look at it, it is extremely arrogant and bloody, especially when you are sitting over thousands of corpses. Are there any movements from Marine? Spad snorted coldly, and his 6 beards trembled and looked a little disdainful. First heard that Marine Vice Admiral Crane personally led the team to capture the Golden Emperor. What? Spad's pupils shrank subconsciously, and then his face became dignified. That old woman is not easy, she is not necessarily an opponent. This is not about Spad's ambition to extinguish his prestige, it is the old woman who has a reputation, but even the woman who is afraid of the 3 fleet captain Queen Kara. The pirate caught by that old woman, not to mention offering a reward of 5 or 6 billion, even 8 or 9 billion. Any pirate who underestimated that old woman was either imprisoned or buried under the sea. That is a woman who is so cruel that even the admiral dares to be positive. It can be said to be a benchmark for women all over the world. There are many well-known or powerful female pirates in the sea, but the first ones must be Marine Vice Admiral Crane, and the great pirate Charlotte Linlin, also known as Big Mom. These 2 scumbags are veritable monsters. How long will the coding be completed? Although Spander was afraid, he was not afraid of fear. We can leave in half an hour. The Golden Emperor is still in Saboti Archipelago? No news yet. Go to Saboti Archipelago through the Fishmen Island first. Yes. At the same time, this news report quickly spread to the sea. The Golden Emperor is famous again. But this time he was famous for being cruel and cold-blooded. Thousands of corpses, enough to pile up like a mountain, blood flowed into a river, and with the capture of generals such as Oakes Vice Admiral, it was simply a blatant hit in the face of Marine. But this didn't scare anyone, and the major forces were still looking for the Golden Emperor. Saboti Archipelago number 34 Mangrove Area. A violent wind rolled in a clearing on the outskirts, a tall figure in a cloak appeared, and then a strange wave centered on the body, quickly spreading out to the entire Saboti Archipelago. Are you late? There was a trace of pity in the voice, and it disappeared before I could see it clearly. In other areas of Saboti Archipelago, several powerful figures raised their heads and looked thoughtfully in the direction where the cloaked man had appeared. They have been peeped, which is extremely powerful. New World, a pirate ship left from the port of Toto Land. In a certain sea area of a euro 1,000 meters high in the sky, a divine dragon's shadow can be vaguely seen in the thunderous clouds. Somewhere on the top of the mountain on the Grand Line, a thin, tall man wearing a plum-red shirt, blood-red trousers and a blood-red cloak showed a devilish smile at the corner of his mouth. The breeze blew, and only one newspaper fluttered with the wind. Holy Land Marie Joyce, in an office, standing or sitting 5 figures, casually threw the newspaper on the tea table. Calm Belt, on the more fringe island. Kyos sat on the ground, practicing. Oakes had no choice, he had to give in. After all, Chaos had already put the threat on the face. In the depths of the island, Crocodile is fighting with some beasts in an attempt to cultivate armed color and seeing and hearing color. Chaos's plan is to understand the return of life first, and then practice through Seastone. According to his talent, as long as he has a direction, he should be able to learn easily. After all, the foundation is already very solid. It seems that since the journey, he has cultivated in addition to cultivation. But there is no way, all for the future. At this moment, Chaos is thinking about the return of life, combined with the insights and methods that Oakes said. The more he thinks about it, the more he feels that it is not easy to return life. If he develops according to his own ideas and succeeds, he might become immortal. As a modern person, imagination must be very rich. It is well known that after life is returned to awakening, you can freely control all parts of the body, hair, internal organs and so on. Although Chaos was a scumbag in his previous life, he also knew that human tissue is made up of cells. This means that life can control cells or not, such as division, regeneration, healing and so on. Will it be possible to rebirth, change the form and appearance, and the immortal body at that time? The more I think about it, the more exciting it becomes. This idea is a bit too bold. Putting aside the above wild imagination, Chaos must learn to control his body freely. Just 3 words. Endurance. This is the eternal pain of men. Think about being able to control any part of the body. That 10 days and a half months of decisive battle is not a dream. Even if there are 3,000 beauties, they can lose their helmets and remove their armor. Chaos would not admit why he was so obsessed with returning his life. Asking is fighting. Just such a month passed away quietly. A lot of things happened this month. Especially Saboti Archipelago, there have been several great pirates or other powerful characters. They all have the same purpose. But for a whole month, there was no news about the Golden Emperor. But this month, whether it is the sea or the Saboti Archipelago, there is no shortage of excitement. For example, on Mermaid Island, Lone Wolfspad encountered Roger pirates, and there were some skirmishes between the two sides. If it weren't for the captain of the 15th Fleet of the Flying Pirates, plus Roger was too lazy to kill, or Spander he was about to die before leaving the school. But this is not the worst. The Roger pirates just left the Fishmen Island with their front feet, and Spad recovered his injuries in the Fishmen Island. As a result, his men accidentally provoke Marine. The key leader is Garp. One can imagine what the end will be. In the end, the injury worsened and almost didn't survive. Fortunately, it was Zone who was able to awaken. Otherwise, I will really go to sleep. But the men suffered heavy losses, leaving only 11 or 2 big and small fishes. It should also be fortunate that Garp was anxious to pursue the Roger pirates and didn't take him too seriously. Say bad luck. He saved his life in the hands of the future One Piece and the marine hero Garp. Is this a symbol of strength or luck? Or maybe there is a golden lion behind. Think this is over? No. With 12 men, Spander landed on Saboti Archipelago. On the third day, there was a conflict with the Big Mom pirates, but it was not Big Mom who led the team, but the eldest son Charlotte Perisparrow. The two sides only fought for a short time, and there was no result. Immediately afterwards, he clashed with an arrogant pirate named Gecko Moria. The opponent's abilities were very strange, and he fell into a big somersault without notice. But he still lives well with his tenacious desire to survive. I wanted to wait until the injury healed to get revenge, but the guy went to the Fishmen Island with a good coating. The following days were not very peaceful either. The most important thing was the Golden Emperor. He waited for a full half a month without even seeing a shadow. This makes the Admiral very unhappy. Jelly Queen Anne, the captain of the 9th Fleet, has been dispatched to capture the Golden Emperor, and he has to take orders from her. This is the worst. Sao Pobla Island. The Grand Line is a prosperous island. It is an island among 7 routes. Those who mix at sea know that there are 7 routes in the first half of the Grand Line, each with a certain number of islands. San Pobla is one of them. 1,000 meters high in the sky, a huge golden sword pierced through the clouds, with 11 locks of the sky hanging below, and people tied at the end. Chaos stood at the end of the sword, looking at the island of San Pobla from far and near, quickly falling into suspension over the harbor. The 11 locks of the sky made Jingle Bells, and Oaks, the 5 rear admiral, and the colonel were thrown to the ground. The locks of the sky were retracted and merged with the golden sword, and Chaos looked down proudly with one hand in his back. The faces of Oaks on the ground were cloudy and uncertain, and there was even amazement and disbelief in their eyes. You are free. With gold earrings and black hair flying, the gold sword turned around and Chaos was about to leave. Oaks didn't know what to say. My Golden Emperor came out and talked about credit. Remember to go back and raise my reward. Chaos turned his head and faced several people with his nostrils. His attitude was extremely arrogant and contemptuous. In the end, it turned into a golden streamer soaring into the sky, and disappeared on the horizon in the blink of an eye. That guy actually let us go. Notify Marineford first. Oaks retracted his gaze, his expression calm. I don't know if I should be happy or worried. He must report this month's affairs. On the other side, Chaos returned to the island on the edge of the calm belt as quickly as possible, taking Seastone and Crocodile in exchange for an island. Boss. Why did you let them go? The new island is bigger than the previous one, and the weather is worse. Crocodile has become more haggard than it was a month ago. Especially those dark circles, just like wearing sunglasses. He was puzzled by Chaos letting Oaks and others go, if he would definitely kill it. That's why I am the boss, and you can only be the younger brother. Chaos withdrew his gaze from Seastone, turned around and watched Crocodile burn a cigar, and continued awe-inspiringly, you must have a bottom line when you come out. This is a personality charm. Credit is the most basic if you want to become bigger and stronger, and create greater glories. Forget it. Tell you that you don't understand, it's still too young. Seeing Crocodile's disdain, Chaos didn't bother to educate. There is no reason why this guy became disabled in the original book. No wonder you can only mix up 7 warlords of the sea. From now on you have to bring it to practice. Chaos kicked the box with his foot. During this time, he has been practicing to return his life, while Crocodile is practicing armed sex and seeing and hearing sex, but unfortunately there has been no progress in the past month. Compared with his own talent, it is simply scum. Seastone. How can Seastone be used for cultivation? Crocodile was taken aback for a moment, then looked at Chaos like a fool. Demon fruit power is too late to avoid, how can it be used for cultivation? Do people who don't Euro-T know the ability will be weak when they encounter sea stone? No common sense at all. He had been wondering what Sows did with these sea stones, and now it became clear. So much nonsense. Put it on. Chaos exhaled smoke rings, his sword brows wrinkled slightly, and his tone became a little dangerous. Crocodile gritted his teeth and cuffed one of his hands. At the moment of contact, he fell to the ground, even though it was just a wrist that was handcuffed, but the body still couldn't lift the slightest strength. Chaos didn't talk too much nonsense, and also grabbed his left hand. Sure enough, the golden fruit was unable to sense the ability, and the original surging strength disappeared, as if he had been seriously ill. The limbs were weak, and it was a bit difficult to move a finger. But Chaos was much better than Crocodile, and he swayed without collapsing to the ground. The gap between the two sides is obvious. With the same sea stone, Crocodile collapsed to the ground like mud, but Chaos could still stand. It's just that his legs tremble a little, and his face looked very strenuous. That kind of weakness is like losing contact with the body, very powerless. There is a sense of emptiness, and nothing is tasteless. Start practicing like this from now on, starting from learning to walk. Chaos took a difficult step, rested for a while, and then step by step, the feeling of weakness is really uncomfortable. There is no sense of security at all. With a slight exhalation, Chaos suddenly swelled, his body temperature began to rise a little, and finally came out a wisp of white steam. Then the pace is much lighter. Try hockey again. Using sea stone to exercise is really useful. Crocodile collapsed on the ground behind him, looking at Chaos, who was walking, gritted his teeth and cursed in his heart, and started to act. It's just crawling on the ground. Looks very embarrassed, even a little pitiful. As everyone knows, after waiting, Crocodile was thankful that he persisted at this time more than once, and followed in the footsteps of that man, embarking on the arrogant and high-profile road that has never ceased to be the enemy of the world. It was a life of death, frantically tempting on the edge of death, with the head hanging on the waistband. Fully experience the meaning of life. I can only say that it's good to be alive. Here, Chaos and Crocodile entered a new round of training, and on the island of San Pobla, the ox waited for a day and also waited for rescue. No one else is exactly the Crane. In the warship office, Crane sits behind the desk, and a group of people in oaks below are sitting on chairs, reporting on the comm belt this month. After listening, Crane knocked on the desk with one hand, and his face changed quickly. Vice Admiral, I am willing to be punished when I return to Marineford. Oaks knew exactly what mistake he had made, even if it was excusable. You all go down and rest first. Crane did not blame anything, punishing generals at Rear Admiral and Vice Admiral. Only the Marshal has this power. As the Oaks withdrew, the office suddenly became quiet. This result he had expected before, not too strange. However, the Golden Emperor's emphasis on credit is really a bit surprised. But what shocked he most was that the Golden Emperor had awakened and returned his life within 25 days. This was the most terrifying thing. Don't think that by learning all 6 forms, you will be able to awaken your life and return it. That is wrong. Master has 2 types or even all 6 types of Marine, and there is no shortage of Marineford. But the Master's life returned is actually very few. It can be said that the difficulty of returning the awakened life is the same as that of hockey, or even higher. The Golden Emperor only took 25 days, which is different. Now Chaos in Crane's heart has raised his level of importance to another level. If it continues to grow, it must be another Kaido and Big Mom. The next day, Chaos went from a reward of 567 million to 783 million. The speed of promotion is a bit too fast. The news that the Golden Emperor appeared on San Pobla also spread. The island of San Pobla is naturally lively, with a large number of pirate boats docking every day, and various killings, robberies, fights and deaths occur frequently. It's a pity that these pirates and forces are destined to take their breath away. No one thought that the Golden Emperor would practice in the comm belt. Crane followed the route given by Oaks to find the previous island, but there was nothing on it. In New World, a certain sea area was cloudless only moments ago, but the next moment there was lightning and the waves rolled. A pirate ship was advancing on the turbulent sea. Although it was extremely dangerous, the ship was brightly lit with a banquet. All kinds of laughter and noise came out, making this dim and dangerous sea area not so terrible. Click. Bison thunder slashed down, and a skull with a curly beard was painted on the high pirate banner. This pirate ship is called the Oro Jackson. Boom. The hatch was violently pushed open, and a fat Murloc holding a harpoon opened his thick lips slightly eagerly. Captain Roger, Monkey D. Garp is catching up again. The original lively banquet suddenly quieted down. A pair of eyes looked at the fat Murloc, then touched the wine glass and laughed again. The atmosphere was not affected at all. Sunbel, take a sip of liquor first. The first man wearing a normal shirt and a black beard picked up the pirate hat and red coat next to him, and walked to the hatch to point to his position. The personality is very easygoing. All right. Sunbel didn't refuse either. He put down the harpoon and sat on the first place without worry. Just what it is. You drink first, I'll go out and have a look. Roger put on his coat, picked up the long knife placed in the doorway, and walked out of the hatch. I'll go out and have a look. The master stepped down, and a man with short blonde hair, white glasses and a black trench coat stood up. This is no one else, but the deputy captain of the Roger Pirates, nicknamed Pluton, a legendary man who will be known as the right arm of the One Piece in the future. Pluton Silver Rayleigh, that guy Garp is really lingering. On the opposite seat, a man with dark glasses and a magnificent body with black hair poured a bowl of wine and cursed. You continue to drink, and Jabba and I will go out and have a look. I guess it won't fight. Rayleigh signaled that everyone should continue to drink. This kind of scene is not once or twice. At this moment, there was a violent wind roaring outside, and the entire sky was dark with heavy rain. From time to time there was thunder shining in it, and a huge warship could be vaguely seen behind the pirate ship. Roger was standing at the stern, greeting Garp on the warship. Garp, we are having a banquet. Would you like to come up for a drink? Roger grinned, and even passed his voice through a few hundred meters. Asshole Roger, you don't want to run away this time. I will drink with you and impel down. Garp crossed his shoulders with his hands, his coat of justice swaying in the gusty wind behind him, and the marine generals behind him were serious, all letting the rain wet his whole body with sharp eyes. This kind of dialogue is somewhat familiar. Isn't this the marine hero Garp? Smell the smell to catch up again. At this moment Rayleigh and Jabba walked to Roger and waved as if they were seeing an old friend. It's just that the greetings are a bit special. It feels like cursing. It's Silver Rayleigh and Copper Jabba. The generals on the warship became more serious. You two bastards are not dead yet. Garp digs his nostril with his little finger, and strikes back with a look of disgust. Haha. Garp, don't be a marine anymore, join me to turn the whole world upside down. Roger laughed heartily, even though he knew the result would not change the slightest, he still said so. Without further ado. Garp didn't bother to talk nonsense, leapt from the warship abruptly, clenched his fist and dyed the color of boiling arms directly. Roger grinned and kept smiling. When he appeared, he was already in the air, holding a long knife in his right hand and banging against Garp's fist. In an instant, the entire sky of electric thunder and black clouds was washed away, and the golden sunlight was shining down all at once. It was just a collision, and the weather in the surrounding waters was so changed. Haha, your fists are still so hard. Landing on the pirate ship again, Roger looked at Garp at the bow of the warship and put the weapon away. Little ones, run. Asshole Roger, don't want to run away. Ha ha. As the pirate ships and warships disappeared in the sea one after another, the clouds that had been washed away by the collision once again returned to the scene of electric thunder and darkness. It didn't take long for the news of Garp and Roger to collide on Marshal Marineford's desk. In fact, Garp is not the only one who acts. Zephyr and Sengoku are actually in New World, and even Sakazuki and Paluzolino are also in the Grand Line to capture pirates or suppress a sea area base. In addition, Kaido, Big Mom, World Destroyer, Cone of Green Pepper, Moria, etc., our kingdom forces are all in trouble. These are the famous characters in the original book, but there are even more powerful and even equal big pirates than these, who are chasing freedom, power, wealth. Among them, the Golden Emperor is undoubtedly the sweet pastry. The whole world is looking for it. But the Golden Emperor had disappeared for a month, and even though it had appeared on the island of San Pobla, it was all short-lived. But this is just the beginning. If nothing else, Chaos will have to disappear for a while. Then I feel that I can do it again, and then I will be upset. In the early morning, the red sun rises from the sea level. What can bring is not warmth, but cold. At some point in the blue sky, there will be clusters and clusters of snowflakes, like countless torn cotton balls. Half of the island is already covered with snow. On a cliff, Chaos was naked, looking into the distance. A large amount of steam was floating all over his body, and the snow was melted by the rising body temperature before it fell on his body. He still wears a pointing pin on his left hand and seastone handcuffs on his right wrist. Compared with the weakness of 3 months ago, there is a significant improvement now. That's right, it took another 3 months to practice with seastone this time. The results achieved are naturally huge. Lao Sha, let's go dry. Chaos stretched out, turned to face the cave behind him, and kicked in the air. In an instant, a black meniscus slashed and swooped, and the entire cave seemed to collapse with the huge explosion. You can see that there are various other gaps in the hole, and it is obvious that chaos did that much. After the dust dissipated, Crocodile came out with a dark face. His upper body was also naked with 8-pack abdominal muscles, and the dark armor color on his hands quickly disappeared. More mature and tougher than 3 months ago. He also wears sea-stone handcuffs on his right wrist. Looking at the man who turned around, Crocodile had mixed feelings in his heart. He didn't know whether to thank this man, hate this man, or admire this man. He has been living in hell for these 3 months. But it is undeniable that he has become stronger, and it is not even a little bit. The armed color and the sighted color have already become the master, and now they won't lose all their strength even if they are caught by the sea stone. At least they won't collapse on the ground like mud as they did 3 months ago. Thanks, because this man made him stronger. I hate it because this man showed him the bridge of Nehi many times and almost swallowed his life. I admire it because this man is crazier than him, and the pressure of cultivation is several times that of him. Now both sides are wearing sea-stone handcuffs, and if they fight against each other, he can't last for 10 seconds. This is really a monster. Also worked harder than him. Are you angry? Boss, what are you practicing today? Crocodile took a deep breath and stood beside Chaos and looked at the snow-capped mountains. You untie the sea stone to grab a sea king's, and you should leave after eating. Chaos had a black vertical hair and no wind, and the steam fluttering on his body began to disappear and return to normal. Are we leaving? Crocodile reacted slowly. 3 months is almost the same, and then we need to go out to prove it in actual combat. Just do something by the way. Chaos has always practiced for a period of time, and then went out for a period of time. After all, fighting experience is more practical. What's more, I always feel a little uncomfortable if I haven't been out to cause trouble for 3 months. He is not allowed to keep a low profile. Now that the capital is getting stronger and stronger, it's not more arrogant and high profile. I'm sorry for so many days and nights of desperate cultivation. He is to be the most arrogant man in the world. No problem. Crocodile unlocked the handcuffs on his wrists, and felt his body relaxed for a while, and finally left. But still a little bit dissatisfied. Because the feeling of strength growth is really cool. Now he can beat him 54 months ago. As Crocodile disappeared, Chaos also undid the sea-stone handcuffs. Both the body and the spirit were relaxed more than half, and at the same time the feeling of golden fruit returned. The goddess who was not far away closed her eyes suddenly and stood up. Because the battle with Garp in Sabodi Archipelago resulted in the loss of a lot of gold, the goddess couldn't maintain a height of 50 meters, and she looked a lot thinner. During these 3 months, Chaos not only brought Seastone to practice body art, hockey, etc., but also took time to develop golden fruits at night. The 50-meter-high goddess, Chaos, is no longer satisfied. Without awakening, the more gold Chaos controls, the stronger the combat effectiveness. Now that he is stronger again, he can naturally bear and control more gold. A gust of wind spread out centered on Chaos, and the sight and smell quickly covered the entire island. In some mountains or underground, as long as there is gold Chaos, it can be sensed. The island has gold, but the quantity is very small. Chaos didn't bother to dig. Sky Island still has a lot of gold, but Chaos doesn't plan to go back. It seems that it is time to fight other Foss's ideas. By the way, it happened to promote myself back out of the arena, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Who will be operated on? Chaos pinched his chin, his brain flashed suddenly. The world government, with more than 170 participating countries, is the largest international organization in the pirate world. It stands to reason that these joining countries are equal. But the real situation is a bit cruel. Because all participating countries must provide celestial dragons with sky gold, which is most intuitively various treasures, or important resources of some countries. Such as spices, gold and silver treasures, various rare minerals and more. All kinds of precious resources, but the most valuable thing is gold. And the gold here is pure gold, it can't have the slightest impurity. This is also the reason why the civilians of the participating countries in Pirate World live in such poverty. It is because the country pays heavenly gold to the world government, celestial dragons, every year. In the end these heavenly gold fell on them. If this meets those mediocre kings, that day will be even more poor. The Kingdom of Gilgamesh, located in the first half of the Grand Line, is one of the participating countries of the world government. The king is considered a wise king, so the people of this kingdom live happily. The kingdom is also rich. For this reason, the heavenly gold offered this year is almost all gold and silver jewelry. At the port of Gilgamesh Kingdom, a merchant ship is moving supplies, and there is a warship next to it. Now these people are carrying the gold in the sky, which contains gold and all kinds of gold and silver jewelry, or spices and so on. The escort was not Marine, but a man in strange clothes and a strange mask. CPO, the secret cipher pole directly under the world government. Since it was a CPO personally escorting, it means that this ship is extremely precious, otherwise it will be escorted by Marine Colonel or Rear Admiral. If it is some special heavenly gold, there will also be Marine Vice Admiral escort. Or it may be the escort of the franchise's own army. In the end, the reason still depends on the value of heavenly gold. Now it is not only the Gilgamem Kingdom that is preparing for the heavenly gold, the other 170 participating countries are also starting to prepare. It's all 6 months in advance. Most of the other kingdoms are still escorted by their own army, or Marine sent generals to escort them. All the boats that have CPOS to follow indicate that the heavenly gold inside is very precious. These merchant ships transporting heavenly gold all need to pass through the Saboti archipelago. It can be found that in the past month, a large number of Marines have started to settle on the island at the Marine Station and government entrances and exits from number 60 to 69 of Saboti archipelago. Among them, Rear Admiral abounds, such as Peluzolino, Flying Squirrels, etc. are among them, and Vice Admiral also has several. Even Crane came back temporarily. Sengoku of New World also returned to Marineford. On the other side, the Calm Sea. The merchant ship of the Gilgamesh Kingdom sailed side by side with a warship and was constantly approaching the Saboti archipelago. This warship is led by Rear Admiral, but it only obeys the orders of the CPO on the merchant ship. The sky, which was cloudless, suddenly turned black. Regardless of whether it was a merchant ship or a warship, the guards and Marines above raised their heads, and when they saw something that blocked the sun, they all slightly opened their mouths and looked stunned. Yellow. Golden Emperor. It's the Golden Emperor. Everyone on the deck lost control of their expressions. Looking at the goddess who sheltered from the sun, they felt their own insignificance. This kind of visual luxury is the only one in the world. Damn it. How could the Golden Emperor appear here after having disappeared for 3 months? The CPO and Rear Admiral in the cabin walked out and looked at the goddess with a peerless appearance and sacredness, especially the golden throne held by the pair of slender hands. Looking at them with a playful look, who is not the Golden Emperor? As for Crocodile standing next to him, he was simply ignored. Because Crocodile hasn't released the arrogant, every-minute temperament. Good luck. Chaos looked down at the merchant ship, especially when CPO and Rear Admiral came out in the Code of Justice. Chaos probably knew what this ship and warship were doing. He can get CPO and warships to escort, 80% of the raid is what he is looking for. Heaven is gold. That's right, Chios had the idea of a euro heavenly gold since he left Calm Belt. He originally planned to go to Saboti archipelago to wait and see. He didn't expect to meet him on the road. With a slight pressure on the index finger of the left hand, the golden ribbon on the elbow of the goddess is like him, which is his Hun Tien Ling, mighty and mighty like a golden stream rushing out. The air is thick and neighing the sound makes everyone's scalp numb. Call out. It exploded very quickly, and the masked CPO suddenly appeared in the air. The entire right arm was swelled in a circle and wrapped in armed color, and it vigorously bombed the front end of the golden ribbon. With the huge roar, a shock wave spread, and both the merchant ship and the giant sword shook violently. Grown-ups. CPO landed on the deck, cracks torn apart, looking up at the golden ribbon floating in the air, unable to see the expression under the mask. Rear Admiral was shocked next to him. Notify Marineford and send someone to support. With a low voice, CPO looked at Chaos held by the goddess, feeling great pressure. Yes. As soon as a major responded, the golden ribbon rushed down again with the sound of breaking through the air, like a python, agile and fast. A group of sea soldiers shot, but the bullet shot on it only splashed with sparks, and even left no traces. CPO shot again and hit finger pistol to collide with the ribbon, leaving a guide on it. Chaos was not in a hurry, watching CPO collide with the ribbon with interest. Just for a while, CPO successively used finger pistol, shaved, moonwalk, tempest kick, and armed color, and perhaps also seen color, paper arts, iron body, etc. It is definitely not demon fruit power. This combat power is a bit worse than Oak's Vice Admiral, but it is still maintained at the level of Vice Admiral. From here, you can get a glimpse of the tip of the iceberg of the world government CPO agency. Maybe this CPO is the weakest CPO. Crack. Boom. Under the successive attacks of the CPO, the golden ribbon started to produce cracks in the spider web, and eventually all burst into pieces of golden fragments and fell towards the sea. However, as Chaos lifted his hand gently, all the fragments were integrated and restored to their original state. CPO landed on the deck, his chest rising and falling violently, breathing heavily. The ribbon he worked so hard to break was so easy to recover. The look under the mask is very ugly. It's a bit of a small skill, it can make me take it seriously. Chaos flirted with the gold earrings and made a clear and loud sound. The whole golden ribbon began to be dyed with a layer of black material when it was visible to the naked eye, and finally turned into a black gold ribbon. This is armed color. One of the achievements of Chaos in 3 months. Counting 3 months ago, it would be discovered that Chaos was not armed when he controlled the gold to attack. It wasn't that Chaos didn't want to, but that the armed color hadn't been cultivated to the extent that it could be covered by air. It's different now. As long as it is the gold that Chaos can control, it can cover the armed color in the air. With the blessing of armed color, Chaos's golden fruit long-range attack power will be improved by several levels. For example, now, the eyes under the mask of CPO shrank subconsciously. But the real danger has just begun. Jingle bell. The bright and resounding metal collision. The huge golden light wheel behind the goddess splits out to form 10 locks of the sky, which quickly transforms from head to toe into black and gold, standing around the golden ribbon, like a python with 10 lions-like majesty. They all face the CPO coldly. Ha ha. Like a sharp arrow flying, the golden ribbon and the lock of the sky blocked the surrounding sky, all strangling or piercing towards the CPO. CPO's hair exploded and disappeared in the same place for the first time. Tempest kick. Flashed into the air and kicked out several kicks in succession, the huge crescent-shaped slash and dive, but the lock of the sky was very flexible, wiping Tempest kick and strangling towards the CPO. CPO fisted out, and a skylock was knocked into the air, but it was humanized in the air and shook his body, and then shot at CPO. A burst of golden iron horses and sparks exploded, and the CPO could hit the lock of the sky, but it couldn't break like before. With the lock of the sky blessed by the armed color, it is very hard. Puff. Unexpectedly, he was hit by the golden ribbon, and a mouthful of blood spewed out from under the CPO mask. The whole person fell towards the warship and was buried in the debris of the debris in the huge explosion. Shoot. Shoot. Damn it, it's useless. Many Marines on the deck fired at the golden ribbon or the lock of the sky, but they were of no use except for a splash of sparks. Even with the golden ribbon wagging its tail, many Marines seemed to be hit by a Mercedes-Benz locomotive. Jingle bell. 10 locks of the sky rushed into the smoke and dust of the cabin, and under the color of chaos, the location of the CPO was unobstructed. As for the gold ribbon, it left the warship directly and penetrated the merchant ship, and quickly attacked the storage area of a euro heavenly gold. Chaos sensed a large amount of gold. Damn it. The only Marine rear admiral shot, holding a long knife in both hands and cutting it on the gold ribbon, also leaving no trace. The golden ribbon was unreasonable, just like a python running through a merchant ship wantonly, and finally smashed through the wall and came to the place of gold. All the gold touched by the gold ribbon is integrated into the ribbon and becomes a part. If Chaos wants to control the gold, he must first touch it with his hands, otherwise he cannot control it. The current gold ribbon is like an extension of Chaos's body. As long as it is touched by the gold ribbon, it is equivalent to being touched by the hand. It can be seen that Chaos has actually developed the golden fruit to a certain extent. The golden ribbon that had grown into a circle left behind a merchant ship with thousands of holes, and then quickly strangled it towards the warship. Huh. CPO flew into the sky very embarrassed, stepping on the moonwalk and looking at the locks of the sky that were constantly drifting around, looking at Chaos with sorrow. He knew that if the Golden Emperor was not resolved, this kind of attack would never end. Even if it is broken, it can heal again, but... CPO looked at the goddess standing behind Chaos. Her heart was cold. Crocodile next to the throne was meticulous, looking at the CPO with sympathy. This kind of battle is simply not equal. Lao Sha, we have about 20 minutes left. You go and get him away, and apply these 3 months of cultivation to actual combat as soon as possible. With a single wave of chaos, the golden ribbon in the lock of the sky turned into various swords, guns and halberds. The sky and the ground formed an encircling circle to aim at the CPO, and then he looked at Crocodile. Good. Crocodile couldn't ask for it. In these 3 months, he was only able to play against Chaos, and he often ended up with a black nose and a swollen face. He hasn't fought anyone else yet. Suffocated early. The elementalization disappeared in the hands of the goddess. Crocodile condensed on the side of the CPO, and the armed color on the right foot was a sweeping army. CPO had no choice but to fight with Crocodile. Chaos just sat on the golden throne, knocking on the chair with one hand and making a dull sound, behaving like a high emperor, and in the sea below his feet, many people are struggling. Go to hell. The Code of Justice flew, and the previous rear admiral, holding a long knife, appeared on the right side of Chaos in one fell swoop, with an expression of success on his face. Ding. Chaos didn't move, but saw a Fangtian painted halberd separated from the goddess, which firmly blocked the behind a large shadow, and Rear Admiral's successful face turned pale. Damn it. I don't know when the third hand appeared behind the goddess. She grabbed Rear Admiral and gently squeezed it like a ham. The scream stopped abruptly. It is no different from squeezing a fly. This episode didn't affect Chaos' mood. He was watching the battle between Crocodile and CPO. Now it would be nice to have a pack of melon seeds and Coke. 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes passed. Crocodile still didn't win the CPO, but had the upper hand. If this had not been Crocodile of hockey 3 months ago, it might have been kneeling. Many seamen on the sea also watched. Both merchant ships and warships have lost their ability to navigate, but it will take some time to sink. And they have notified Marineford and believe there will be support soon. It only takes CPO adults to delay for a while, and then you will be able to catch the Golden Emperor. Yep. Chaos, who was watching the play, suddenly turned his head to look in the direction of Sabaody Archipelago. In the perception of seeing, hearing and color, a golden light was shooting at a super-fast speed, and it had already crossed 10 kilometers in just over 10 seconds. The dazzling photons condensed in midair and finally formed a figure. Chaos narrowed his eyes slightly, and the appearance of this man was unexpected. Wearing a black round hat, a white lined suit and a blue tie, a coat of justice fluttering behind his back, a cigarette in his mouth and black gloves, Pelusalino of this period is a little bit ridiculous, and his looks have not yet turned. Development of wretched direction. It's really scary, isn't this the Golden Emperor Gaia Chaos with a reward of 783 million? Pelusalino spread his hands and spit out a smoke ring from his mouth. Some yin and yang weirdness. He had stayed well in Sabaody Archipelago, but received a notice that the Golden Emperor was robbing the kingdom of Gilgamem for the heavenly gold and needed support. He was just one step ahead, and Vice Admiral had already followed him on a warship. The above command is to catch the Golden Emperor. Oh, isn't this Pelusalino, Marine's 3 rookie monsters? I feel so stressed. As the Golden Throne shifted, Chaos looked at Pelusalino with his legs upright, with contempt in his eyes. That's really an honor for me. Pelusalino stretched out his index finger, with golden cross-shaped light shining on it, and lightly tapped it casually. A laser beam penetrated in an instant, and there was no point at all. Rumble. A huge explosion resounded under the sky, and Chaos sat on the Golden Throne. A strand of black hair fell slightly on his head, the Golden Throne and the breast of the goddess were pierced behind, and finally a big explosion occurred behind. It's dangerous. Chaos tilted Erlang's legs, his ears with gold small swords and earrings swayed, tilted his head to learn Pelusalino's tone, and the halo erected behind the goddess danced to the head to form various swords, guns, swords and halberds, all aimed at them. Pelusalino. In the face of such an intensive offensive, Pelusalino remained calm and calm. But when those swords, spears, swords and halberds all turned into black and gold, the lazy face became a little stiff. Shoo. The air was torn and swept into the sky, and the densely packed knives, guns and swords rushed towards Pelusalino with the sound of breaking through the air. All are covered with armed colors. Pelusalino disappeared into photons for the first time, and appeared in the sky in front of Chaos, pinching the orchid fingers in both hands, shining with cross-shaped golden light, just like the golden sun. Bachichang Guyu. A large number of golden light bullets formed a meteor shower, slamming across the sky toward the swords, guns, swords and halberds. Suddenly, the entire sky exploded again and again, forming a line of thick smoke billowing into the sky. The battle between CPO and Crocodile was forced to stop, and all the survivors on the sea below grabbed the ruined walls to prevent being lifted out. When the shock wave of billowing smoke hit, Chaos still maintained the contempt of the king, and did not move. But the goddess stretched out her hand to stop him in front of Chaos. Those storms couldn't get close at all. When everything dissipated, Pelusalino's photonization appeared in the distance, and when he looked at the safe and sound Chaos, he slightly squinted at the goddess. Pelusalino, there is no future for Marine, come and follow me. Wealth, power, women, whatever you want. Let us join hands to become the most arrogant man in the world. Chaos's brain circuit is novel, and he even opened his mouth to solicit Pelusalino. He remembered many forums speculating that Pelusalino was actually the undercover agent of the Revolutionary Army, but now it is difficult to say whether Monkey Da Dragon has established a revolutionary army. In addition, this solicitation statement is a bit shameful. Fortunately, the wealth, power, and women in front of him can be said to be the most arrogant man in the world. It is also very fresh and refined. In short, Pelusalino's expression was a little bit astonished. It's tempting. Pelusalino dangling a cigarette, Photonization appeared in vain in front of Chaos. His right foot was raised high with dazzling golden light, and the coat of justice behind was flying in the wind. Very casually lazita, but have you ever been kicked by the light? Rumble. A small mushroom cloud rose into the sky, billowing with smoke and fire, and the Uzumaki pit was formed in the sea below. In the distance, CPO and Crocodile stared at the gunpowder. After a gust of wind swept through, everything inside was exposed. I have been kicked now. The golden body of Chaos tilted his head, and the slender hand of the goddess in front of him was broken from his wrist. At the same time, the back of the golden seat was also missing a large piece, but the black and golden arm was firmly in front of him. Pelusalino's eyes were cold, and the photonization appeared 10 meters away, and his face was a bit cloudy. While Chaos straightened up, the hand of the goddess and the golden seat were also restored. If you have about a minute, let's take a good look at the speed of the fastest man in the future. Chaos withdrew his gaze from the direction of Saboti Archipelago, and could feel a very dangerous breath. Standing up from the golden seat for the first time, Chaos began to dye black and gold from head to toe, while a lot of steam fluttered. This is full firepower as soon as it comes up. Call out. There was an explosion in the atmosphere at his feet, and Chaos disappeared in vain. The next second there was wind in Pelusalino's ears, and Chaos swept across his feet with cold eyes, as if evacuating the air. Pelusalino disappeared in the first moment, and a large fan-shaped shockwave shook and roared. At this time, the sky went dark. Pelusalino, who had reunited his body, looked up, and his hairs exploded. The ribbons and light wheels of the goddess of heaven all turned into swords, spears and halberds, falling down like sword rain. Pelusalino squeezed the orchid fingers with both hands and crossed again, wanting to use Bashachong Guyu. But at this moment a huge crisis struck, and Chaos appeared with a dangerous face, his black and golden feet swept across like a mountain range. Pelusalino resisted for the first time, but his face turned green at the moment of the collision. The immense power made the hands blast on the face in reverse, and as a mouthful of blood spurted out, it turned into a golden beam and flew out for the first time. But before he could control his body, there was a huge storm behind him. The goddess appeared in that direction, as if waiting for him. But the most frightening thing is the changed form of the goddess. Although her size has shrunk to 20 meters, her back is suddenly stretched out with dense arms, as if Senju Guanyin pushes everything horizontally, and shoots at him like a broken bamboo. And all the palms are wrapped in armed color. Damn it. There is the golden emperor before, the goddess in the back, and the treasures of the king on his head, so you can only escape. I have to say that Pelusalino's speed is very fast, and the attack of the goddess is completely empty. But, I'm just waiting for you, not good. Pelusalino is too late for photonization, and Chaos is waiting for the rabbit. And Chaos is also insidious, no longer bare-handed, but holding a black and gold long sword in his right hand, slashing straight towards Pelusalino's neck. A chill rushed straight to Pelusalino's tinling cover, and he smelled a death crisis. But Pelusalino is no ordinary person. He leaned back forcibly between the electric light and flint, and dodged the blow dangerously, but there was a cut on his left cheek, and hot red blood beads were flying.